talk to you about some group. I'm assuming on the patio, but otherwise, how would they have got my email? Oh. They emailed me. We should be. I'm joking. I am their dad. I emailed them.
Oh, I was like, what did I do? You know.
I do know how much we spent last week. You mean how much we spent total or how much we spent in surplus?
How much in surplus?
In surplus last week, we spent 30. So the total should be about 499.
I should have asked that.
I have the total.
I do, yes.
We spent 31,035. We should have 499,878. And our request today is 38,955. Yeah, that's a total request. Love you all that. Anyway, just reach out to me. Said something about how, well, I didn't have to in like budget hearing, but that they have questions about changing it. So I just like, here's where I keep that. Thank you. The gist of the question was, how do we change our tweet bill? Like, that's not what they were like, they don't have to have budget. If my friend, I got diet, if they don't have to have a budget, I mean, it's not down. But I would know, like, there's a lot of places where it's one, you know, I don't know, it's big. And there's 100 change. That's fair. That's low. Like you're getting an estimate. Yeah. It's the Criminal Defense Association. Oh, perfect. I'll look at it once. I'm just gonna forward you but anyway, so I met with Jada and the other professor here and we got everything off. There's actually tier 4. So someone was telling you
just like from last year or like from
tier 4. That's the I agree too.
Like is that on like the basis of how much? Like
yeah, but like I never did, but was in
it's like a 20 people at each.
I like the reminds me of some stuff.
No, but in our documentation.
Oh,
I think so. Like the other.
Okay.
39,892.
Very interesting. Like, should we be in tier 3? Like,
I need my 29.
that's a lot of people. Like,
No, you should be tier 4. I was surprised you should be tier 3.
Got it. Yeah. I just forwarded you their email. Somewhere.
not good.
The capacity for this right now. Yeah.
The document was just every time I click on it.
Any other? Every single one of them is fed up to the. Sorry.
Okay, I'm just saying. Look. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I apologize for the late start, but I am now calling this November 5th meeting of the ASUO Senate to order. We will begin with introductions with name, pronouns, and positions, starting with Senate Seat number 1.
Hey guys, I'm Xander, POC Senate 1. Hi team, my name is Marisol Peters. I'm PSC Chair and PSC Senate Seat 2.
Maybe it's over, so that's 5 CFC.
Senate Seat 6, PSC, I use she, her pronouns. Hey guys, my name is Bella Hopper. Hey, I use she, her pronouns, and I'm DFC Senate Seat 9. Hi, I'm Olivia Heffernan. I use she, her pronouns. I'm DFC Senate Seat 10. Hi everybody, my name is Ivana Modienta. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm academic seat 1. Everyone, my name is Zoe Jenkins Fox. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Senate Seat 12. Hello, my name is Kelly Shindham. I am seat 18.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cole Stevenson. I'm seat chair and seat 15.
Hi, my name is Robin Bailey. I use he, him pronouns. I'm Senate Seat 18, representing the School of Journalism and Communications.
I'm Mila. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm academic seat 22, grad student 1.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sarah Questenberry. I use she, her pronouns, and I am Senate Seat 23.
My name is Abigail, and I'm also.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Ludeman. I'm Senate seat 20 and also the deputy speaker.
My name is Quadrian. I'm Senate Seat 7, and I am the Senate Speaker. Moving forward on the agenda, we will go to the approval of the agenda. Readers.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second by motion made by Peters, seconded by Questenberry. We will actually start with the land acknowledgement. I apologize. Do we have a senator to read the land acknowledgement? Senator Fisher.
The University of Oregon is located on Kalapuya Aliki, the traditional indigenous homeland of the Kalapuya people. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation western. Today, Kalapuya descendants are primarily citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, and they continue to make important contributions to their communities, to the UO, to the lands now known as Oregon, and in following the Indigenous Protocol of acknowledging the original people of the land we occupy, we also extend our respect to the 9 federally recognized Indigenous nations of Oregon: the Barnes Paiute Tribe, the Confederated Tribes of the Coos, Lower Umpqua and Sislaw Indians, the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation, the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, the Coquille Indian Tribe, the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians, and the Klamath tribes. We express our respect to the many more tribes who have ancestral connections to this territory, including the Chinook Indian Nation and the Fort McDermott Paiute and Shoshone tribes, as well as to all other displaced Indigenous peoples who call Oregon home.
Thank you, Senator Fisher. And now we'll go to the approval of the agenda. We have a motion from Senator Peters, seconded by Fisher. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. And the agenda is approved. We will now move to announcements. Is there a senator? Or please come up.
Everyone,
I have to hit the switch on it.
Well, there we go. Hi, everyone. My name is Callie. I'm with Oxford Students. Happy week 6. We have a quick little announcement for you guys. The first thing being that this past week, I had the opportunity to go to Denver for an open educational conference. This conference had over 1,600 people in attendance, both in person and online, including 62 different countries represented, which is pretty cool. With the student perks, we were able to give a panel on the student experience of why student organizing is so important when looking at open educational resources. This panel had over 50 people in attendance, and throughout the conference, we were just able to talk to librarians and faculty and different nonprofit leaders about open educational resources and why they care about it and their efforts on their respective campuses and jobs and workspaces. Awesome, and then I'm Riley, I'm our chapter visibility. And I just wanted to mention that Hunger and Houselessness Awareness Week is coming up very quickly. Each year, Oxford students, alongside hundreds of other organizations across the country, come together to host a week of education, service, and advocacy events to end student hunger across the country. This year's H&H Week will be hosting our very first student hunger lobby day up in Salem. We'll be bringing students to the Capitol to meet with a bunch of representatives to encourage them to tackle the major problems of hunger and food waste in our state. There is no reason for food to end up in the landfill ever. If it can't be on people's plates, then it should be composted. So we will be urging state leaders to support our bill to require large restaurants in Oregon to donate or compost any unused food. And we'd love to have any of you there. We'll be sending around this RSVP form, and we look forward to seeing you guys.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate all the work that Oxford does here on campus and in Oregon. So thank you. Andrew, Senator Bailey.
Okay, hi. So I've been thinking about my interactions with Oregon Voice last Senate, and I realized the feelings that I had didn't stem exactly from their choices, but instead my own frustration with how confusing it is to navigate ASUO and SOFs when your org is trying to print or publish. The student insurgent, which I'm part of, has had the same struggles, and you'll hear about them tonight. And I believe my own experience struggling with our financials showed in how I spoke last Senate. But I want to turn that frustration into something productive. And after speaking with, and hopefully with help from Marisol, I'm hoping to start building a resource list for ASUO funded publications, outlining sorts of things like what your print services offers, alternative printers if you can't get stuff on there, online publishing tools, and overall like budgeting guidance. And if any other senators or student org leaders who publish want to collaborate, I'd love to work together on it so we can make publishing more accessible and sustainable in general across campus. So I'm gonna, how do I do this motion to start a working group to develop resources for printing and publishing with the ASUO?
Motion made by Senator Bailey, seconded by Stevenson. Those in favor of starting a working group, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. And the working group's formed. Thank you, Senator Bailey.
Excuse me if you want to get involved, but this might take a little bit because we're going through budget stuff right now. Okay, I yield.
Senator Stevenson.
Hey everyone, this upcoming Saturday, the SNAP food drive is going to be in the ASUO suite in the EMU starting at 10 a.m. The State of the Union is next Wednesday in Straub at 5:30. Those are just general time updates for everyone. Yeah, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Stevenson. Do we have any more announcements? Senator Smith.
After you help the food drive, my roommates are having a concert at our house, and there's lots of fun bands. So, and some players, there's like, unwind after you walk around and do the flyers. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Smith. I will, and I haven't announced birthdays yet, but going forward, I will. I do want to wish a happy birthday to Vice President Jordan Ackman. Yeah, of course, it's your week. No problem.
We got monkeys.
Really?
Just for you. It's just for you.
And if that concludes announcements, Senator Bailey.
Yes, sorry, I forgot. The Campus Labor Council, which is comprised of Graduate Teaching Fellows Federation, U.S. Student Workers, United Academics, and Service Employees International United, SEIU, the classified staff here, is holding a teach-in and joint action this Friday, November 7th from 12 to 1 p.m. In the Willamette Atrium. It's going to be on the Oregon Compact, Unionized Labor, and the Future of Public Education. Some other student organizations are helping out with this too, like ASUO, YDSA, and CJL. And then before that, there will be, actually, never mind. Okay, I yield.
Fisher?
Hi, this is so exciting. The poli-sci law Wayne Moore Center are having a couple of really cool events happening soon. Tomorrow, there is a panel that discusses housing solutions for the rural population in Oregon, and there's a lot of really cool 3 p.m. poli-sci law people speaking on it. It's at the Wayne Moore Center. I'm lying to you. It's at the Knight Law Center in room 110 tomorrow at 6:30. And then where's my one? Oh, there it is. And then on Tuesday, the 18th, there is another really cool event being put on by one of the political science professors. And he's talking all about the expansion of presidential power and like kind of just like the sciencey side of how that's happening and what's going on and how it will impact people. And that is on November 18th from 5 to 6:30 in Barlotti's. Thank you, Amos.
Thank you, Senator Fisher and Senator Chisholm.
Hello, y'all. As a people liaison, I would like to. Oh my God, I'm okay. Okay, SACA, the South Asian Cultural Alliance, is starting this event called Diwali. It's this Saturday from 5 to 8 in the EMU ballroom. They're gonna have student performers and they're so good at dancing. So like I really encourage y'all to go to that. Yeah, this Saturday, 5 to 8.
Thank you, Senator Heffernan.
Yeah, I have nothing else to say. I have to turn a blank.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Lights still off.
Thank you, guys. Right then. If that concludes announcements, we will now move forward into public forum. Does anybody from the public wish to speak? All right, we'll move forward into committee presentations. Rules Committee is presenting a rule change to you all, a rule change regarding transfers. We, the Rules Committee, decided to be much better use of Senate time and student board times if the treasurer could just simply review transfers that are below $1,000 from any line item, and Alexander and I both see it as reasonable, then we stop at 120
Dang.
Not gatekeeping. Look at it.
Send a.
Send me a request.
But yeah, basically it's just the treasurer would be able to approve any transfer below $1,000, and outside of that, if it's administrative to program line items, then they would still have to come to Senate if it was over $1,000, just because that's a law to allocate funds, and we can allocate surplus funds that could then be like transferred without discretion. So there is still a level of oversight, but at the end of the day, it's student work money, so I feel like they should be able to move it. Please. All right. We will go through it here, but this is the current language that's in the rules right now. It's what we've been going off of to this point. Keep scrolling down. This is the approved change. So essentially, all transfer requests below $1,000, transfer requests under $1,000 will be reviewed by the Senate treasurer, and then we went into the actual treasurer's responsibility in the rules too, and add that to the task. So senators of the future or treasurers of the future will know that that's something that's expected of them. I will open up to questions so that you can ask questions. All right, we'll vote on it. Those. Oh, yeah, we do need a motion. Someone can make a motion to approve the rule change regarding transfer requests. Senator Stevenson,
I motion to approve the rule change regarding transfer requests.
Second Questenberry.
motion made by Senator Stevenson, seconded by Questenberry. It does require a 2/3 majority to pass some action. Going to do a roll call vote. Starting with Perez. Aye. Peters.
Aye.
O'Neill. Fisher. Taylor.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Opperhead. Heffernan.
Aye.
Amadou Jenkins Hiscox.
Aye.
Chisholm.
Aye.
Nagarajan.
Abstain.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Daly.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Questenberry.
Aye.
Ludeman.
Aye.
And I say aye as well, and the rules officially changed. Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, we're done.
Then we'll now move into financial business. Currently surplus is at $499,878. And unallocated reserves at $29,572. Senator Fisher.
And the total surplus requests for all of our requests tonight totals $38,907.
And then moving into the request, we'll start with Jewish Law Student Association. Do we have a rep from Jewish Law Student Association? Questenberry?
I was looking at their request, it's for $92 due to a discrepancy in budgets. They had a complete turnover in their leadership this last year, and there's some miscommunication on whether or not you need to show up to surplus. So for $92, I'm gonna just make the motion right now, and then I can talk to them and let them know that in the future they should be coming to surplus to talk to us at Senate. So I move to authorize spending from surplus to the group Jewish Law Student Association, OS number OS 314, in the amount of $92 to line item merchandise budget.
Motion made by Questenberry, seconded by Ludeman. We now have a motion on the floor. Senator Peters.
Only because it's $40 a person. I'm not seeing, are we requiring 9.5s for like things that are gonna be gifted to people before, when we make the surplus request? That rule, that, are we using that?
It's not a rule that I've been.
Okay,
aware of.
cool. Then I yield.
Thank you. Ludeman.
We made it well, we put it in our priorities. It's in our financial priorities that we have 795s for, like merchandise and gifting, like a.
Fisher.
Yeah, although they did make this request like long before we put it in the priorities, they just like had it come. I will say, I'm gonna vote no, only on principle of that they aren't here, but I do think like this keeps getting appeared, so I'm fine if it passes, I just, for principle sake, I'm going to vote no.
Thank you. Okay. There are no more questions. We'll move to vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
And the motion is passed. Yeah, you can call for roll call. Okay. Starting with Perez. Nay. Peters.
Aye.
Fisher. Taylor.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Opperman. Heffernan.
Abstain.
Amadou Jenkins Hiscox.
Aye.
Chisholm.
Aye.
Nagarajan.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Nay.
Bailey.
Aye.
Fisher.
Nay.
Questenberry.
Aye.
Ludeman.
Nay.
And I say nay. won't vote, I won't announce the result, but the motion passes. 17-5.
No.
Not that many of us.
11-5 ones.
11-5, one abstain, the motion passes. Then moving forward in the agenda, we have the International Business and Economics Club. Do we have anybody from IBEC here?
I move to table the request from IBEC.
Motion made by Fisher, seconded by Ludeman. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. And the motion or the request is tabled. Next, we have the Philosophical Society at the UO. Thank you for coming. Please just share your name and a little about your request. Senator Stevenson.
Hi, everybody. My name is Finn. I'm the treasurer for the Philosophical Society at UO. We are requesting the surplus because last year's officers did not fill in the budget request for this year. So our current budget is $0. So we are requesting the surplus for the year. I attached a document on the surplus request that goes through in detail how much everything is. But in total, it's for $1,667.
Thank you. And from our conversation, you guys have never had a budget before, right?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. So this could be pulled from unallocated reserve if you'd like to pull it from there. And we'll open the floor for questions. Sorry, Ms. Stevenson.
I was going to say, to further add on to your point, Ben, like even before last year, there was not a budget as far as like we've just never had one. We've had like little events and stuff, and those things have been requested through either surplus or something else. But because it can be pulled from unallocated reserve, I'm just going to make the motion. I move to authorize spending from unallocated reserve to Group of Philosophical Society at the UO, OS number OS339I, in the amount of $810 to meetings, $503 to socials, and $354 to outreach, for a grand total of $1,667.
Motion made by Stevenson, seconded by Taylor. Now the motion on the floor, and Senator Bailey.
I'm just curious, okay, wait, what building is STH?
Susan Campbell Hall.
Okay, and then how does the projector installation work?
We get into contact with UO and they will install a projector like this one. There is a screen already. They used to have a projector, but they don't anymore.
Oh.
So we're asking for a projector.
Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully that's possible. And
Operative?
Sorry, not to continue off of that, but I'm a little confused. Why is it your firm's responsibility to get this?
It's the main room that we use for our club, and nobody else is doing it. So, and they don't use that room for these kind of purposes.
And you use it for classes?
It's technically the like lounge room, if not official class. So.
Okay, makes sense.
And is this like a projector that your club is going to be able to keep, or is this a projector that like you're renting to use for the year?
It would stay in the building past this year.
Would it belong to your club, or would it belong to the room?
It would belong to the room. I talked to Mimi last week and she said to include it.
And then how much have you talked to the Susan Campbell Hall about it?
We have not. we just looked up how much it would cost to install these, because it would have to be the same one that's in all classrooms.
I recommend that we take that total out of the request and then we approve it if you guys want to, and then you guys should go figure out what Susan Campbell Hall, and if you guys absolutely have to come back here and we pay for it, then we should do that.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't know if that's necessarily your responsibility to like permanently add something to the building. Yeah, I think that would be maybe something to talk to them about. I do.
Susan?
For further clarification, it is not like a place where they have class. It's just like when you walk into Susan Campbell Hall, which isn't familiar to everyone, it's one of the smaller buildings on campus. It's like on the second story, you walk in and turn right. It is just an open space, which is really good for club, but they don't have class in that space. And so it's essentially like sort of a free reign thing that Phil Club has been able to occupy, and only Phil Club has occupied since around 2021, 2022. And so it's not that any other club or any other classroom or faculty would use that same space in the same way. But yeah, I think that we should definitely, Phil Club should talk to the people in that building about what that would look like. Do you know how much the installation of that was, so that we can take it out and then I'll make the motion with
I don't know the specific number.
$450 is what it says on the thing.
Yeah, that's just for how much the projector was. We don't know like if there's like a installation site.
I'm saying like if I take the 450 out.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
We're good.
And then if it is something you have to end up coming back for next week after you figure it out with them, you figure that out then. But I think for now, this would be better.
I still have time, right? So I'm just gonna recraft my motion, and would I take it out of which one? Say 10. 1 second, sorry.
Just so everybody's clear, if we do take that projector out, the meeting item line goes down to $360, and then the total goes down to $1,217.
I move to authorize spending from unallocated reserve to Philosophical Society at the UO OS number OS339I in the amount of $360 to meetings, $503 to social, and $354 to outreach, for a grand total of $1,217.
Motion made by Stevenson, seconded by Questenberry, and Senator Chisholm.
Hello, I was just wondering for this Photoshop subscription, is that for like your clubs like?
So we have a outreach officer who just uses that for like all of our outreach for the club for the whole year left. So whether it's like making Instagram posts, making like posters to print, anything like that, just using
So it would be on your outreach coordinator's personal like account.
It doesn't have to be, but we do not talk about it.
No, it's good. I just was under the impression, someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but student workers have like full access to all of Adobe things, like, which would include Photoshop. I answer Robin.
It's everyone, not just student workers, but only on university computers, which is frustrating. So,
Read that again, sorry.
yeah, everyone has access to like the full Adobe suite with your UO email, but only if you use like a university computer with like the university system stuff installed on it, like in the computer lab here or in the libraries. But like if you're like not at school or can't access the computer, you can't like. I don't believe it allows you to do this on your
Okay.
Yes, so knowing that information, is that do you think it's realistic for your outreach coordinator to use the computers and Or like, I don't know how y'all think of this.
Personally speaking, after learning that, then no, it's not necessary. If students can in fact just like use a school computer to use this. I did not know that. But if that is the case, then I can take the $264 year subscription outreach.
Also the center that you spoke with, maybe their pronouns are.
Thank you.
Bailey, did you still wanna?
Yeah. You've had your money moved around quite a bit in this. Do you feel good submitting it? Because you're asking for considerably less and we can pull from unallocated reserve. Do you maybe want to move? I don't know, like you can't come back and say we want more money for like posters or food or whatever. I don't know.
I think I still do want to go through with this, and then if we do need more money, then we'll come back.
Okay, of course, yeah, I yield.
And since like they don't have a budget too, the 250 could be used for like other programming and things like that too, if they don't want to use it for the subscription.
This doesn't like affect how I'm voting or anything. It's just like an informational thing. Like Adobe Express is free to all of us on our computers. So it's like there's limits to it, but there's like certain things that are free. But again, like that's not something that's like making my decisions, just information. I yield.
With this amount of money, they could get a banner, they could do like, they could like I've already remade the motion. I'm pretty confident with this number being pulled from unallocated reserve, especially. So I'm happy with the motion for clarification. I yield.
And if there's no more discussion, we'll now move to vote. Starting with Perez. Aye. Peters.
Aye.
Fisher. Taylor. Aye. Smith.
Aye.
Alfred. Heffernan.
Aye.
Amador.
Aye.
Jenkins Hiscox.
Aye.
Chisholm. Nagarajan.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Bailey.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Westenberry.
Aye.
Hoonan.
Aye.
And I say aye as well. Congrats, guys. Thank you for coming.
You guys also today.
I'm done.
Yeah, you can put, international business and you come back on the. What's the motion?
You say I make a motion to pull from the table.
I make a motion to pull from the table the requests from international business and economics.
Second for this.
Motion made by Taylor, seconded by Perez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. And we'll now hear the request from International Business and Economics Club. So, welcome back, guys.
Thanks for having us back.
Of course, we're pulling up your presentation right now.
That sounds good.
No, you're getting another one?
We adjusted the old one a little bit.
Good work, guys. Yeah, you did the work.
That's just helped completely. Yeah, anyways, we didn't want to take on too much of you guys' time. We wanted to respect time, so run through last time, but just some updates last time. So, yeah, I'll go into this. So we previously reached out to a U of O alum who worked at the LA Clippers about a month and a half ago, and it was totally like ghosted us for a while. But then since we came to pitch, they got back to us and said they would be willing to host us. So we've made no formal commitment to them that we'd be able to do the site visit, but they've given us a tentative agreement. What this would entail is they would be added on to the third day, so the first main day of the site visit. And we would go to the Intuit Dome, which is the newly developed stadium under Steve Ballmer for the LA Clippers. and they would give us a tour of the stadium, an employee panel, and then an informational session with an early careers recruiter. The students were there. This would not add any additional costs to the budget that we had prepared for you last time, just because of how we have the Uber situated. That won't be any additional costs, but if this were to be approved, there would be one more international organization, well, NBA based, but has an international presence on the site. Next slide, please.
Then also, since the last time we pitched, we talked to the Dean of the Business School, and we just got, as you guys can see, as you all can see, we just got a statement from him just to further the importance, I guess, of this mission statement that we're bringing to you guys, or to just to make sure that we're trying to give as much ethos and backing to this as possible, especially since the dean is backing our effort to try and reach out and reconnect with the LA specific side of business school does, but also UO does as a whole. So that was another update as well. But for time's sake, the next slide will dive us into the budget, which is what we're headed on. So that's the Vivian.
Okay, so from our last pitch, we originally I think had $24,400. That's obviously something that we didn't come to an agreement with. So our new adjusted cost breakdown is we decided the only answer to our problem was to cut heads, and so we decided to do 20 people instead. So with 20 people, obviously the airfare stays the same per person, but that's for extra less people that we're paying for to get there. So we were able to cut that down to $9,000. Lodging, since we are removing 4 people, that removes an entire hotel room. So with 20 people, we only need 5 hotel rooms instead of the original 7 that we were pitching for. So that's still about $300 per person. We looked at the hotel fares and it still remains the same, about $100 per person per night. And then with transportation, this is eliminating the cost of going to and from the airport. So that's something that we talked about last pitch, was that people can find their own rides there and back. And I don't think that should be a problem since the Eugene Airport is not too far away and carpooling is a good way to mitigate that. And then with food, this is kind of like big, I guess, discussion that we had talked about. But since our whole mission with the whole cross collaboration and how equitable our club is with it being so inclusive, it didn't seem really fair for people to pay out of pocket costs for their own food, especially within LA. And we already are like shoving 4 people per room, which is kind of a lot of people per room. And then 2, we're making people find their own ride to and from. And so this is also $190 for the entire trip. This is like with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And this is like the lowest possible cost for food that we could have. And so that's how we were able to come to about $20,500. And then this is kind of about the $1,000 mark per person. So I'd love to open it to the floor to any questions.
All right, so just from our conversation, I just want to make sure with AMA, what this is approved, what are you guys' plan for the Chicago trip later in the year?
I think we're still figuring out the logistics of the amount of people that we can bring and the amount of people we need to bring. Obviously, we want to bring as many people as we can, but right so more so we're prioritizing the people that we should bring to compete in the case competition. So I think we will be coming back to pitch for that, but I just don't know the exact amount yet.
Okay. And then I do also just want to say, like, with a lot of the conversations I've been having over the last few weeks, boards that have big travel plans and things like that, that it is increasingly being harder to provide like meals for every single org that travels. It's like about 5K to 7K every single trip. And like when we are where we are now, having to like partially fund trips, I do think that's like one of the first things that is harder for us to fund, with tickets and travel and hotels being the highest of priorities. I'll open up the floor now to Senator Stevenson.
My first question is, how did you guys decide on the cuts for the people?
I think we're gonna bring, so we cut down the exec. So we're gonna bring, I think, 4 exec and then 16 members. And it's like, that is the most feasible way because we can't have any less exec run a group of 20 people by themselves. And so obviously we're prioritizing our members.
And I know that you said or mentioned earlier that you didn't know exactly how much the Chicago trip was going to be, but could you provide a range in your mind of like what that next thing is going to look like?
I mean, I think I just don't know how much people that we are able to bring right now, but I know that it'll probably be about $1,000 per person. Is what I'm looking at.
Okay, thank you, Ariel.
Hi guys, thanks for coming again. I have a couple questions just from like some things that we had talked about in our meeting like this past week. First off, I know in the Engage form, it has a little bit of a lower number than what is being presented here. And I was wondering if you could explain what changed from the surplus request.
Yeah, so that lower number is, I guess that was kind of up for the debate of whether or not, like you said, we were gonna be able to fund food or not. But like I said, like our club is just so inclusive and just we want to make it as equitable as possible. It just doesn't seem super fair for everyone to kind of be like, yeah, like we'll like bring you out, but you have to buy your own food. But that's something that we're able to like possibly come to a middle ground with and at least maybe get some funding for. But like I said, this is mainly just for the lowest possible food costs that we like kind of allocated towards. And so, yeah.
Okay, so if we're not considering taking out food, were there any considerations of lowering the number of people a little bit more to kind of meet the financial priorities a little bit?
Like cut heads, you said?
Yeah.
Yes, we can't. So in that case,
we have two possible alternatives for that, just because we were trying to prep for a couple different scenarios. So if you go forward 2 slides, this is the adjusted cost breakdown with food for 20. What it would look like if we weren't providing food for the trip. So around 800 per person, 16.5-ish total for the entire trip. And then alternately at a very similar cost, you can go forward 1 more slide. And so that's 16 people. So cutting 4 more people off of the trip with food is around that 16.5, 16.6 mark.
Yeah, if I can jump in. Yeah, our original intent was to just try and discuss on a case by case and then hopefully just have these backups based on where our conversation with you all went. But yeah, basically to recap what Colin said, we did consider cutting food completely out of the equation because it's a good suggestion on your side. And we also, to also counteract that, so it wasn't the only option to discuss, we also did consider cutting down even more to 15. So that's where we're at right now. As you can see, the per person price doesn't really change unless you take out food. So it's still pretty much the same per person cost if we were bringing 20 versus 16. But then to change the per person cost, we just considered cutting out food, which we wanted to talk to you guys or to you all a little more about, just because we wanted to see. We know that our club doesn't charge dues, so we want to make it as financially equitable as possible. But I do get what you guys are saying about there's a lot of clubs looking to travel, and by giving us lodging and airfare alone, you're already doing so much for us that we wanted to see what the kind of, I guess, cost benefit of food versus liquidity would be in your guys' opinion.
Just from my personal opinion, I totally understand like wanting to like provide the whole experience and especially with like food that makes it more accessible for more people if you include that. But I guess that is really up to your preference if you'd rather take more people and then those people are in charge of their food, or if it's less people and you don't worry about that. I do feel like these 2 options are more feasible with considering our financial priorities as well. Just because there's funny enough, there's a less surplus and a lot more requests for travel this year than even last year. And so trying to be as equitable as we can to as many orgs to make, help them all kind of do those things. I like these numbers more. I have another question, just something else that we had talked about. within the 20 or 16 people, however many, is it still split 50-50 between AMA and IBEC, or did you decide to make it different numbers? Because I know we talked about how AMA has another trip this year. And so, and since IBEC doesn't, and they haven't really gone on trips before, maybe more of the.
Glad you asked. That was actually something that slipped my mind now. We did talk about it, especially since AMA already has a trip planned for the winter to Chicago. You know, we wanted to make sure that there was a more reflective number based on that, because if there are an even amount of AMA people traveling with IBEC people, but then they also get to then go to Chicago, or not the same people, but their trip will happen to Chicago as well. We actually talked about an adjusted split that the cohort will reflect, and we are actually looking at a 60 IBEC, 40 AMA now. So that was another thing I wanted to, I guess, take questions or hopefully open up the floor for discussion on, just to see how you all think about that.
Is that confirmed, or is that just like a floating idea?
Yeah, it's pretty confirmed. Yeah.
Pretty confirmed. Okay. That's all my questions. I yield.
Senator Fisher.
Hi guys, thanks so much for coming back. I love all the work that you've been putting into this. Erin asked a lot of my questions. I do appreciate the breakdown between IBEC and AMA, just because, again, like AMA is going to a conference, and I would personally hate to deprive them of that conference that they like need to go to continue being a member. But also, I am feeling a little like, because I would love for you guys to go on this, but also, you know, travel. My main thought now, and again, this is just up to you guys. I think it's really important, as much as we're trying to help problem solve with them, that like they have prepped alternate solutions, and I don't know that it's fair of us to like keep throwing alternate solutions at them. Like they have come with 3 alternate solutions, and so like I think these are the 3 solutions that we are debating and talking about, and I don't think any of us should be suggesting any other solutions, because I appreciate all the work that you guys have done thus far. I will say personally, I would feel, again, you pick what you're picking. Personally, I would feel most comfortable with having 20 attendees and not covering the cost of food, as much as I really do appreciate the commitment to like making sure that it is affordable for all the attendees. I do also think in a city like LA, where there are so many options, I think it would be worthwhile to have as many people as possible go and be able to bring that back, and then have not so many people go. And kind of, because in my thought, it's like not so many people going and they're also getting the best experience. Whereas in having 20 people go and then they cover their own food, to me seems like it's reaching more students. More students are able to bring back their experiences, and it is kind of like a trade-off that's happening. That's what I think. But again, totally on you guys. I just really appreciate all the work that you've done. And I really appreciate your joy and your commitment to come back. And even though we keep asking you all these same questions, you have to explain yourself over and over again. You guys are all smiling, and I just love that you're excited to be here. Thank you, I yield.
I also just wanted to like add to that too. It's totally up to you guys. And the reason I do think the food is a better idea, because if we don't approve the food and you take 20 people, you guys can still do things to pay for that food. Like you guys can fundraise, you can, there's options at that point where if you guys reduce the number, you wouldn't be able to come back and add more people at that point if you did the fundraising. So it gives you more flexibility. And then Senator Smith.
Hi guys, I want to say the same. I appreciate like all of your enthusiasm, like all of the work that you put into this. I think where my biggest issue is with like the ratio between AMA and IBEC, just because our surplus, like so much of it goes to travel, and that affects like a very, very small percentage of students. And so having like 2 trips for one student org is a bit of an issue to me. So I would like, it's just like my personal thing, but I think like it would feel better to me to have more of a
higher ratio of IBEC because like for me, it feels better that surplus would be like at least a little like slightly more equitable and slightly more representative to clubs who like don't have the same opportunities like all the time, like consistently. But I welcome your guys' responses, yeah.
Can you click it back one slide to see adjusted for 20? Okay, cool. So under the 20, we totally understand that and see that, especially coming from an equity and different organizations perspective. That's something we're open to. And so if we're doing this, which it sounded like a lot of you were more comfortable with, which we understand. And so we came knowing that we're comfortable either doing 20 with no to with. We're very happy for this alternative. I think with something more of like a 13 IBEC under this 20 to 7 AMA members, so essentially a 2-to-1. Would that feel like a better split in your mind?
To me, like personally, yes, but I don't want to speak for everyone. Yeah. You.
Senator Peters?
Well, I was gonna say the same thing Adrian said about you totally have time, I think, to fundraise for food. Like a little bit less than $4,000 should be pretty achievable. I'm also working with the executive branch to develop a training for student leaders on how to fundraise. We would love to support you in any way that we can, helping y'all with fundraising. And I just had a question for IBEC. Y'all have $1,500 in a stipend, in a site visit line. Is any of this going towards that?
For this trip, no, because I forgot if I covered this last time, but from what we are working with our VP of Finance to do is that 1,500 would be more intended for the in-state visits that we're trying to make happen. But then since this one is this big lump sum for an out-of-state dedicated trip, we wanted to make sure we were tapping into surplus for that. I would be open to putting some of that 1,500 towards it. We just wanted to make sure we're reserving that for the in-state visits we do have planned, just because the in-state visits are way more. They don't need hotels. They don't need food as often because people can bring private lunches, and then like the 1,500 is pretty much just gas money for us to make sure it's happening from.
Well, that makes sense. And you?
Senator Perez?
Hey guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming up with a new request. It means a lot. You guys put in the effort to make it, easier on our end. I really appreciate the effort. I just echo. I feel like it's more up to you guys on which one you choose. Especially food. I know I had discussed that last meeting. It's kind of also going back thinking about like I know trips that I've been on. I was in one in Anaheim in the winter. I had stipends for food, and I know like if I didn't have that, it would have been a pain in the ass. So yeah, I feel like if you guys did do that, I personally recommend the one where you guys are able to cover food. Again, it's up to you guys. I support you guys either way. It's more just your preference. One question I did have, I know you guys mentioned executive members going. Is there any people repeating that went on a trip previously?
Well, last year we went on just a day trip to Portland, and so we're having a limited number of people, but there might be from the IPEC group that went to Portland, I think 3 repeats is what it's looking like.
Yeah, just because when we went to Portland last year, it was the entire exec board, especially since that was that was our first site visit, like in 5 years period. This would be our first site visit out of state in I think 7 years. So all of us went to Portland. So whoever would, and the exec board that was training to become the exec board this year were all there on the Portland site visit last year. Like Colin, he actually spoke last time we were here because he was a member at the time he went on the Portland site visit, but since then he applied for internship and now he's our outreach coordinator. So yes, there would be repeats in the 3 exec that go.
Yeah, half of our exec were either interns or grade members last year. So they went on the site visit, but it wasn't because of what the exec does.
Got it. Okay, I was just under the impression it was more. I must have just like misinterpreted it, but that was all I had. I yield. Legendary.
Hello, welcome back. If we had all the money in the world, you'd have it. So I'm sorry that we are under the restraints that we are. I'd like to say out of all the travel that we approve, I think this is one of the best requests that we have seen. You added another company, even though the funding wasn't secured yet. So that's fantastic, very proactive of you all. And I think, obviously, I'm gonna echo what we all have said. We're very impressed with that. I personally think that you should leave the 1,500 in your line item for site visits to focus on in-state site visits. That's fantastic work. A lot more people can go. So I personally don't think you need to put any of that money towards this. Now, we've discussed fundraising, and so I'm totally open to making the motion. I think based on our conversation, we're looking at one of the $16,000 numbers. I'm happy to go for this one, and then within the club, the second one was just slightly lower by about $60, I think. Where it was looking at 16 heads. And so is that okay if I give them the higher number and then as a group, they can choose which option, or do I have to give the exact amount right now?
Yeah, if you do the higher number.
The higher number? Okay. Sweet, I will do that then. I move to authorize spending from surplus to Group International Business and Economics Club, OS number OS 120A, in the amount of $16,660 to line item conflicts.
Second, Perez.
Value.
Motion made by Corson, seconded by Perez, and we now have a motion on the floor. Senator Stevenson.
Sort of to piggyback on Senator Smith's point about the two trips. And we're discussing IBEC's budget of 1,500 afterwards. It feels like for AMA, would you prioritize this trip over the Chicago one? Like if you were to think about like doing this trip as a collaborative versus your essentially what is your the trip that you need, how would you frame those two?
Like, that's the thing, like, well, with this breakdown already, like with the almost like 30-70 at this point, I mean, I feel like we are still prioritizing the Chicago case because we need to be there, but more so of less like we're prioritizing less people, not the want, but more so the need. Like we need a certain amount of people there and a certain amount of people who are competing in the case. And so we're gonna be prioritizing those people over like the people that just want to go just to go. And so
And for clarification, the competition that you're talking about is the Chicago trip?
yes, correct. That's our national case competition in which we compete against other schools.
Okay, thank you, Ayu.
And so with this new breakdown of the 70-30, how many people do we think are going on the trip? Out of curiosity.
I think of the number I proposed, it would be 7 members of AMA out of the 20 and 13 of IBEC.
So it would essentially be like a $7,000 trip for AMA at that point. I do like the number, but I do get very concerned because if the Chicago trip does come anywhere near like BK or anything like that, it's going to be very hard to approve because that's like almost multiple, essentially like $15,000 for one org at that point, and that's more than we've been giving one org to go on trips. So like I'm personally comfortable with this number, but I worry about AMA's ability to go on the required trip. So that's just really what I'm worried about.
We would be open to considering 15 and 5, so 15 members of IBEC, 55 AMA, so still a collaborative trip. 5 members of AMA at $850 per person. That would lower that cost down around 4 to 5,000 ish. I think. Don't know the exact number. Just to understand that and take those needs into consideration.
Thank you so much, Senator Fisher.
Guys, thanks again. Okay, here's where I'm at. I think independently, personally, where I'm at is I think I'm gonna vote yes on this because here's why. Because I think they've done a lot of work and they've done a lot of good work. And I do understand the conversation about AMA and going to Chicago. And admittedly, like, am I less likely to vote yes on that account later? Probably yes, because I'm voting now. I'm voting yes here now. And I do, and like, I know what impacts that could have. However, I do think like similarly to how we're saying, right, like they've thought it through, like we're gonna trust the group's numbers and what they think they need the money for. If they're deciding to do a collaborative event, like I don't think it's fair to punish IBEC for the fact that AMA has to go on another trip later. Like if they've agreed to do this and they're agreeing to change the total number to make it like over 60% IBEC, like I think IBEC is doing the very best they can, and I think AMA acting independently, like can and should and probably will plan for that later when they come back for a Chicago request. But I think that like that is one of the things that is their responsibility to think about, and as much as the AMA has been exposed to what we're talking about in this conversation, I'm sure they'll be preparing for it when they want to come back for the Chicago trip. So I think I don't know. That's where I think I'm at. I think it's fair to be worried. However, I do think there is a level where like they've agreed to do this and we have to trust the groups because they've agreed to do this. I yield.
admin.
Hey, all, I want to follow up on the fundraising that was mentioned. I met with Celeste Christie, Associate Director of Annual Philanthropy today, actually. So no matter how this vote goes, I want to connect with you all on that to talk about like some kind of funder and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. And all this discussion is once again an issue with our budget, not an issue. So thank you. Basically.
And like for AMA, I just want to say like I'm really trying not to pick on you. I'm just trying to set you guys up for success. I know that Chicago trip is important for you guys, and you guys know the budget this year. So just like money is hard. And then not right.
So are we? So from what I'm hearing, if we approve this right now, the chances of going to Chicago are very low. Is that what I'm hearing, or is
yeah?
How do you feel about that?
Which is like the conversation I've had one-on-one with AMA too. It's just like it is going to be harder to fund the Chicago trip if this trip is funded. Which is their choice. Like if that is what they want to do, then you guys are free to do that. I just want to make it very clear to everyone.
Okay, so if we were to allocate more people to this IBEC and AMA collab, would that, I guess, increase our chances of getting a little bit more funding for Chicago?
Most orgs are going on one trip this year if they're able to go on a trip. And to go on the East Coast, our priority set 12K for the maximum for that. And to stay on the West Coast, it's 8K maximum. So essentially, like, if you guys were able to stay under the 8K for both of those trips, I think that would be more than okay. But right now, it's about 7K, a little less than 7K for this trip. So
with the revised allocation of 5 AMA, 15 IBEC at $850 a person, it would be more in the 4.5 range for AMA. No, that's so 5 AMA.
Oh, for 5 AMA.
So lower than the original 7 we had with
And that's for like you said. So if we were planning to do Chicago East Coast, that's 12, right? So if we have like let's say it's about like 4.5K right now, would that mean that we'd have like potentially like 7K of wiggle room for Chicago?
it would. I honestly thought that you guys were meant for like working with the 8K total. The 12K is a little more friendly for you for sure. And I think that's your decision at this point, where like you think the 5K is good for this trip and you guys can use 6 to go to Chicago still and do what you need to do as an org, then that's totally up to you. And I think that's awesome.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, sounds great. Thanks.
What's amazing.
And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you come back for the Chicago trip, I think we'll just ask the follow-up question, how many from AMA went on this trip? So internally, the numbers are up to you, but just that would be something that we are evaluating in your next.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're for the people going on the LA site visit. there's probably gonna be no repeats, like going on to the Chicago one. I think that's like clear.
I heard that definitely earlier, but then also just will how many, regardless of repeats, so how many seats on this trip went to AMA, and then we'll add that to our analysis when you come back for the Chicago trip. So just like you were saying, like the 7.5K, just take that into consideration when you start planning the Chicago trip, that like however much money you need for Chicago, then you should be saving that, like taking that out of this trip, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so like, just to be clear, like if, let's say it's about what, 4.5K? Yeah.
Or two.
Yeah, so like it's like a little over $4,000 for the AMA X IBAC collab. So which means like we have about like maybe like 7 to 8K for Chicago. Potentially.
That's just the analysis that we'd be looking at.
Okay,
So if you sit down and start planning Chicago and it's gonna look like it's gonna be more, then you should adjust this trip's numbers so that you have more IBEX seats instead of AMA seats.
Okay.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah, and then also just like my other question, so like, let's say we do get approved for the funding, and let's say like the Chicago trip is a lot more than what we anticipated to be. At that point, are we able to still adjust the number of people, or is it kind of like a set in stone, like, okay, we decided on like 5 IBAC or 5 AMA and 2 IBAC?
It's just gonna go into how we think about the Chicago number. Yeah, so it's not a hard rule, because these are just our surplus suggestions, and that way we can be equitable across all organizations coming to us.
Yeah.
So it's just something that we would take into account. So just something to have in mind as you're planning the Chicago trip.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Otherwise, with that, I'm gonna call the question.
I'm off super before he yielded, so I want to give him the floor just one more time and then we'll call the question.
I was gonna call a question, but is the value that we're doing now like the a little bit over 4K for AMA?
It's like 60 is what's on the floor.
And they're gonna figure out the AMA. Okay.
All right, so question's been called. This is a motion to end debate right now. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. All right, debate is over. We will now move to vote. We'll do a roll call vote. Starting with Perez. Aye. Peters.
Aye.
Fisher. Taylor. Aye. Smith.
Aye.
Hockaday.
Aye.
Heffernan.
Aye.
Amodiabe.
Aye.
Jenkins Hiscox.
Aye.
Chisholm. Nagarajan.
Aye.
Stevenson. Bailey.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Osfair.
Aye.
Newman.
Aye.
And I say aye as well. Congrats, guys.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you with us.
Thank you. Well done. Have a great trip.
And moving forward on the agenda, we have Emma Khadija. Thank you for being here tonight. Please introduce yourself and share a little about your request.
Everyone, my name is Jacob. I'm representing our club as the director of finance. And so just to lay it out for you guys, our supplemental budget request is primarily centered around the fact that our club was not operational since 2019. So the club kind of went away during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're looking to kind of reestablish a space for students to get involved in chess and kind of spread the game on our campus and kind of implement a new way for the community to engage in a kind of academic way that kind of improves critical thinking. So this supplemental budget is essentially a duplicate of our budget request for the following academic school year. So essentially what it is a one-to-one copy. We have prorated some of the values, given that we already kind of are into the fall term, and it wouldn't quite be a one-to-one, but that's kind of the premise of what this budget pertains. I do want to lay out that on our initial surplus request, we failed to attach the form that kind of breaks down what exact values would go into each line item. But what I did prepare for you guys today is this slideshow that will kind of give you guys a better idea of what will go where and how we will use that money. So yeah, if you want to just move through. Yeah, so we can just go to the next slide there. So just to put some numbers in front of you guys here, this is our attendance by meeting. As you can see, there is a linear trend in our amount of attendance that is growing. And the bottom two lines represent our amount of current chess sets and chess clocks. So right now, we currently do not have the equipment to support the amount of people attending our meetings, and this number continues to grow. So the biggest aspect of this budget request will be the initial equipment that we need to support the demand that we are receiving for our club so far. So here's a breakdown of what that will cost. So as you can see, based on the average market price for 20 clocks, they would come in at $20 per unit, and we would get around $25 per unit on each chess set. So 20 would give us enough to support enough attending members. Right now we have about 30 regular attending members. We were able to gather around 10 sets just by borrowing from people in the community, people looking to support our group, but we don't have any sets that we actually own. So we are requesting $900 for the initial equipment that we will need to run our club. And this is the most crucial aspect of our budget. So here are some upcoming events that we have planned. Actually, this evening as we speak, we're hosting our initial fall UO tournament. So we plan to host an on-campus tournament once a term. And this is just a way to attract new members to the club, have people who are already engaged in the club invite their friends, and look to drive more engagement to our group, and just create a little bit of additional programming beyond our weekly meetings. As you can see here, we've listed out one per term, and we also are planning for an annual tournament with Oregon State University. So that is planned for this coming winter term. Now we're in talks to host that around weeks 8 through 9. We don't have a confirmed date for you guys, but that is going to be hosted in the EMU. So that is happening. We don't have any final details for you guys. That's part of what we're budgeting for. We've made some adjustments to our initial surplus request that we've laid out here due to the fact that this was supposed to be hosted at Oregon State University. This will now be hosted on our campus. So we have reduced our total budget request by a figure that kind of reflects that change. So yeah, we can move on to the next slide here. So here's our additional programming costs beyond chess equipment. So as you can see here in the first box, we're allocating $20 per meeting to 3 prizes, and this would be once a week for the 24 weeks remaining from this point on. And this may seem a little high, and we understand this is fairly aggressive. So it's essentially we plan to host educational lessons and kind of quiz the members at the end of every meeting. So this would kind of be some small prizes that are chess related to kind of reward that engagement and people who are actively engaging in the lessons, making that effort to become a better chess player. So that's gonna be our primary meeting cost, is just those lesson rewards. And then we plan to have one end of term social. So we're budgeting $200 per event, once per term, and that totals to $600 for catering our social events to reward the members who keep showing up all term long. If they attend a certain amount of meetings, they would be invited to this end of term social. And lastly, we would also hope to cater our tournaments. That was not possible today due to the fact that we are yet to have any sort of budget funding, and we're kind of trying to make this happen on our own. But we are really looking to have this be an established club for years to come. And we do think catering our tournaments would give them a little bit more professionalism. And also these will be longer tournaments that extend over multiple hour periods. And we think it would be a good gesture to the members who are showing up to these tournaments and being around for so long to have some food for them and kind of give them a little bit of an extra incentive to be there. Now for administrative costs, we have advertising. This includes a campus subscription and social media promotion. So this is something that is something we haven't really seen done before, but we are looking to allocate a certain amount of this advertising budget towards social media ads, primarily through Meta, to reach more of the UO community on Instagram. So this is kind of a testing phase. So we were looking to just have $50 go towards this and see how that can impact our total engagement, and if there would be really a change from before to after doing that. And then for tabling and promotion, this includes banners, promotional flyers, stickers, and small giveaways to try to drive more engagement to meetings. This would typically be used at the beginning of the term for early term recruiting. The banner is something that would be really important to just allow us to have a more professional presence anytime we're hosting any sort of event or participating in any event on campus. And then we've allocated $15 for 30 students to receive merchandise, which would most likely be a t-shirt. So here's a little summary of all these line items that we've gone over. There's our adjusted total spend figure. This has not been reflected in our surplus budget request. We weren't too sure if we could adjust these things before having a hearing on our initial request, but this is all our updated information, how we've adjusted all our spending based off initial feedback on our annual budget request for next year. And we tried to reshape these figures in a way that is aligned with the feedback that we've got on our traditional budget. And this is kind of a reflection of that budget just for this year's operations. And we can cut it there. I don't want to take too much of your guys' time, but I'd love to hear your guys' opinions and see where you guys are at with this.
Awesome. We'll open the floor now, starting with Senator Nagaraj.
When do y'all meet?
Yeah, so we meet Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m.
And y'all like also like teach kind of like do puzzles and like openings?
Yeah, so the first couple meetings, this is our first term on campus since we've been reestablished. It's all new exec, so we're just still figuring things out. But as of up till now, we've really just been doing like just chess games. Yeah. People space to play chess. I believe last week, week 5, we started with our first lesson. We plan to build this out. First, it was just like a 15-minute lesson. We do look to take up like a full hour with lessons to try to really help people grow and learn and like provide them with the resources they need. And that would kind of be followed by like a little Kahoot, and that's where the prizes would come in for that type of thing.
That's fine, yeah. That's I'll see you probably next week.
Thank you so much for being here. You had a great presentation. Hold on. This has no bearing on anything I'm gonna vote on. We did not have a chess club before you?
Yeah, so we did
That's
have,
crazy to me.
yeah. As of the last 5 years, we didn't have a chess club since 2019. So yeah.
What? Hey, oh my God. Well, I love that you guys did it. So this could be on a kid reserve. Why not? How you doing?
So they're technically the same chess club that has existed. It's like what Julie and I came to the agreement on was like it's cuspy enough of years of not having a budget that they can still use their same OS number. And in fact, shout out to them, their ledger was frozen from 2019, which is negative $70. So they paid like $70 out of pocket to unfreeze their ledger. So it's like, it's the same board that they have like a 10-year history, like, ending in 2019. So we can't use that allocated reserve.
Hey, that's okay. That's fine. I think you did great. I think you did a great job. I love you guys doing this. I can't believe it wasn't happening. I'm just gonna make a motion. So this is the,
Yes, this is not what is reflected in our initial surplus budget request, but we can take all steps necessary for it to be exactly what you guys see here.
You're okay. I'm just trying to make sure that I can make the motion right. You don't have to, you're fine.
Okay.
You don't have to explain it. I'm assuming the administrative and the programming are 2 different line items.
Yes, those are.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So.
All right. I move to transfer funds. Oh my God. I move to authorize spending.
Sorry, I was looking at the form and there's a lot of line items. Do you know what line items you're going to put them into?
I'm literally just gonna use administrative programming.
Should we name it something? Yeah.
Can we name it like merchandise and advertising and I know I'm so sorry. And an equipment line and then an events line. And actually,
okay,
equipment should be an admin. It's a line item for each one of those.
Okay.
I mean that, yeah.
Hold on.
Okay. Alright, give me a second. Okay, my recommendation would be merchandise and. Well, now I have to like write, I gotta write it down. Either I'm gonna write it down, you're gonna write it down for me. I'm still holding my time.
All right, who's making the motion? Senator Bishop.
I yield. Well, you're making, I don't know what the motion to make is.
Bailey, then Questenberry. Questenberry.
I'm just gonna create line items for each one of those. Is there any reason I should not be doing that? I yield to Chris.
If you're gonna make the motion, I recommend the bottom three of program be committed to one. And two events.
Just do events for those bottom three.
Yeah, and then the three for administrative could be advertising, promotion, merch, and equipment.
Okay, so I'm gonna merge just those bottom three, the weekly meeting and the term social and turn it into events.
Yes, for 16.8.
Thank you, that's what I was just gonna do, 16.8. Okay. And then in the form, it's calling it the Emerald City Chess Club, but here we're talking chess club, does that matter?
Their official name is Emerald City Chess.
Okay. And I'm gonna use that name just for our formal stuff. Okay, here we go. I move to authorize spending from surplus to Group Emerald City Chess Club OS number OS 021I in the amount of $375 to new line item advertising and promotion, $450 to line item merch, $900 to new line item chess equipment, and $1,680 to new line item events for a total of $3,405.
Motion made by Questenberry, second by Perez. And we now have a motion on the floor, move to Senator Chisholm.
Hello, I also want to express gratitude for y'all bringing this back because I've been hearing chess fanatics always say like, I'm gonna start a chess club, and I'm like, I'm surprised we don't already have one. I was just wondering what prizes you were planning on getting 3 for $20.
Yeah, so our idea was to buy stuff like really cheap novelty chess sets. You can find some for around like $5 to $10 that are kind of magnetic and like fold up. They're not quite like a full regulation set that we would quite need for like our tournaments, but it would be a nice little gesture or just little cheap keychains of like chess pieces, things that could kind of be aligned with our group and what we do.
Okay.
All right, and that concludes the list. If there's no other questions, we'll now go to the vote, starting with Perez. Sorry, Peters.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Operative.
Aye.
Heffernan.
Aye.
Amadiefe.
Aye.
Jenkins Hiscox.
Aye.
Chisholm. Nagarajan.
Aye.
Stevenson. Bailey.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Questenberry. Ludeman.
Aye.
And I say aye as well. Congrats, guys. All right, and working our way forward, the agenda. Next up is Chinese Bonjon. I'll pull up your guys' presentation real quick. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll work on pulling it up. You guys are more than welcome to start if you'd like. You might have to hit the switch on it. You can pull it off. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maddie. I am the president of Chinese Banjiang. Beside me, I have our treasurer Grace and a representative from TWASA, Emily, who is the Cody of it, which is the Taiwanese Student Association. We are requesting $1,200 in surplus funds for our Lunar New Year collab with the Taiwanese Student Association. We can click on to the next slide. The expense breakdown of everything, we're trying to make everything even between the two clubs. So Chinese Banjiang is willing to take on catering, which we will be needing 1,200. And surplus towards our catering, we are getting platters from H Grill and Spring House for the Lunar New Year event. Twasa is taking care of decoration, which was estimated from $80 to $200. And then performances, we are kind of splitting a little bit kind of even. Banjiang is taking on White Lotus, which is a lion dance club, while Twasa, the Taiwanese Student Association, is taking on Wushu, which is like kind of like a martial arts club. They're looking to get Daiko, which is about 200, or a Portland dance group, which is a traditional Chinese dance group. And then with the room booking, Twasa is also taking care of that. We looked into the ballroom, but unfortunately, where the event date is not fall when the ballroom is open. And then we were also looking at Ford alumni, which was costing around 1,200. You can click onto the next. From Banjiang last year, the total expenses that we did have to request in surplus was 905.76. Most of it did go towards Spring House, which was 770, which we spent on about two platters of like each food almost, and we had a general attendance of about 100 students. So with the 700 towards the 800 towards catering, we didn't really have enough food to provide for everybody. That's why we were requesting more food and requesting for surplus. We did also get drinks and stuff like that from Eugene Asian Market, and we got traditional fruits such as pomelos and all that stuff from the market as well, which did cost to 100. And then we did spend money on prizes to give back to the audience, which was 33, and it totaled out to 900 in total. Next slide. And then why we're doing this event, Chinese Lunar New Year is a big insignificant event for Chinese culture. We are also collabing with Twasa, as they do kind of fall in with a Lunar New Year with us, as we did have separate Lunar New Years last year, but we did want to collab this year to make it more bigger and better, and we are expecting a general audience of about 200 people or more. We'll be having like acrobatic performances from like Wushu and from the Lion Dance Club. This is open to all students, faculty members, and community members as well. And we do want to include interactive games with the audience, so we are looking to get sponsorships from like other kind of like clubs, and then like departments and all that stuff.
Thank you guys for the presentation. Super exciting event you guys are planning. We'll now open the floor up for questions, starting with Senator Fisher.
There you go.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate this. I think this is a great event. I just have a couple of questions, and I also plan on making a motion after this. So it bears little on my motion. I was looking, so in your ledger, you do still have a little over 1,800 for Lunar New Year. What is that going towards?
So the 1,800, we are adding the 1,200 along with that because we are requesting more amounts of food. That is why on the event breakdown, we have food going towards 2,500. So that is why we're requesting more money for surplus, since we are collabing with the Taiwanese Student Association, and we are expecting a big attendance on about 200 people or more. We do just want to make sure we have enough food to provide for everybody. And then we are also getting White Lotus, which is the Lion Dance Club. So they gave us a quote of about 500. That is why the whole expense is why we have 1,800 in our line item, and that is why we're seeing more. Originally, we did not think that this would be a bigger event, and we would be collabing with the Taiwanese Student Association. But we did end up doing it, and it will just be like a bigger event for everybody. And it's
Perfect. Okay. So just to make sure that I'm understanding correctly. So the total you'd have for the event is like a little over 3K. 500 would be going towards White Lotus, and the rest of it is to the food. Correct. Okay, perfect. And then can you go to the slide before that? The one from like last year or the year? Yeah. Yeah, that one. Okay. And so, all right. So when you spent 870, you ran out of food.
Yes, we did. We had a bigger turnout than what we expected. We did book LLC South, and all of our tables did fill up really quick. We had an audience of about 80 people, and we weren't expecting everybody to show up and a lot of people to be there, so we did run out of food, unfortunately. So that is why our request for food this year is much higher, as we don't want people to go hungry. They show up to the event, we want them to have fun and feel like they're a part of us, feel like they're celebrating the Lunar New Year, and then we want them to also go home with their bellies full or almost full.
I love that, you guys. That's all I've got. I'm just gonna make a motion. I moved to transfer. I moved on. Why do I keep doing that? Guys, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm so messed up. I moved to authorize spending from surplus to group Chinese Banjiang OS number OS 292I. Oh God. In the amount of $1,200 to new existing line item, Lunar New Year. Second Peters. I'm so sorry.
Motion made by Fisher, seconded Peters. We have Stevenson on the speakers list.
Hi, you.
Yield. Chisholm. I yield. Moving to roll call vote.
Oh, Bailey. Hi, I just have so the other costs are being covered by the TWSA from your budget?
No, from their budget.
Yeah.
So with the whole expenses, we do want to make sure that everything is equally covered so that we don't have to give TWASA money for spending more money on a certain item or TWASA having to give us more money. We were trying to split the cost pretty even. And we just decided to come to a consensus where if we were to be able to get Ford alumni, then we would take care of catering and all that stuff, since EMU ballroom is not available on a Friday. So reasons why we have to go to Ford alumni.
Okay, thank you. I do.
Thanks for being here. I was just looking through like an old surplus request from like mid-October, and it was 950 for food for Lunar New Year, and I was wondering if that was like the same exact event or like slightly different because it talks about like making the food. So I was wondering if that's like going to this event or something different.
It's the same exact event. The 950 was just us doing the event alone. We just needed a little bit more in budget to be able to purchase the tablecloths or anything like that. As we are still like a newer club, we don't even have an office. We don't really have any storage space for any decorations. So the 950 was just for more, was just for food and decorations. And then with this surplus hearing, since we are collabing with TWASA, we're just expecting more people, and hence why we're requesting for more food.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I yield.
All right, if there's no more questions, we'll now move to vote, starting with Perez.
Aye.
Alfred.
Aye.
Heffernan.
Aye.
Kamo Diape.
Aye.
Jenkins Hiscox.
Aye.
Chisholm.
Aye.
Nagarajan.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Bailey.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Westerberry.
Aye.
Ludeman.
Aye.
And I say aye as well. Yeah, what are the dates?
It is February 20th. It will be posted on our social media once everything is figured out, but it'll be from 6 to.
It'll be 6 to 8, but doors will most likely open 5 to 5:30.
Or a little bit earlier for like game incentives, games.
Awesome. That sounds so fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Then moving forward, next we have the student surgeon. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thanks for having us. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam. I'm the outreach coordinator for the student surgeon.
I'm Leanne, I'm the operations coordinator.
And our request tonight amounts to $13,172. Before we get into the details of that, we wanted to just give y'all, for those of you who are maybe less familiar with the insurgent, our mission statement, just to familiarize with some of the stuff that we do. So if you ever hit the next slide, thank you.
We are a radical publication that seeks to deconstruct the existing social order and facilitate its replacements with one which is ecologically sound and functions on egalitarian lines. We exist to challenge oppressions, exploitations, and hierarchical power.
So in addition to being a printed magazine and a newspaper, the Student Insurgent also operates as a collective. We have meetings at least once a week where we establish community, work on the issues together, hang out, and also participate in broader activism on campus and in the community. The magazine is usually focused on artwork, longer form writing, some of which has to do with current events and politics, but also may have to do with stories, reviews. Really, it's kind of an open submission for folks to submit whatever they want to be published in a magazine.
We also have a newspaper, which is a new media project started by Robin, and it's dedicated to more on-campus news that is happening around.
We also operate a prison project, which is dedicated to establishing correspondence and relationships with prisoners, people behind bars. We send them our magazines for free to give them something to interact with and something to enjoy. We also provide space for them to send in their own artwork, writing, stories, whatever, for them to have a space to publish their own work. Creative outlet, something like that, something that's really not provided unless people make the effort to give it to them. So that's kind of the gist of what we do. Next slide, please. Thank you.
A little timeline about the reasons why we are here to discuss. Last spring, the Student Insurgent was working on 2 magazine issues titled Americana and Genocide, and we had approved surplus requests for the 2 issues, but the issues were not finished by spring term. And during the summer, the surplus got sent down to because those and as those right now, we did not. And we put in an order for Americana and Genocide that were supposed to be done last spring, but the money got taken out of this year's funds, not last spring's funds. And so we are asking for funds for the 2025 to 2026 issues because we don't have enough to pay for 2 magazines for this year.
So breaking down the request itself, $8,455 is dedicated to go into the next 2 issues. That being Flesh and Fantasy, which is in progress now, plus the next issue, which will be decided on as a collective once we're finishing up with Flesh and Fantasy. So that $8,455 matches the amount that was spent on Americana and Genocide out of the current year budget. Again, that was supposed to come from the surplus from last year, but those issues being not ready yet, that money got swept back. Now that money instead for the most recent purchase request got used from like the actual budget, leaving us without any money to print Flesh and Fantasy, the next issue, plus copies of the Nightly Ruby. There's on top of that, there's also surplus request for the Nightly Ruby. So each Nightly Ruby, about 100 issues would cost about $1,400 times 3 issues brings us to $4,200. On top of that, there's also another, I believe, $217. 200 of that being for, a little extra than that. There's $200 for food, I believe, for events that we usually do, like a launch party every time we release a new issue. In the Aurora Center, folks can buy, read the issue, snacks, we hang out. We also have $100 allocated to stickers. We printed a couple stickers, like different stickers in the last couple of years. They're very popular. They go pretty quick. Well as $17 for the domain that we pay to maintain our website. So that brings the total request to 13,172.
To tell where the monies should come in line items, for cabling and promotion, we would put the website domain and food prices in it, so that would be 217. And in the mailing and printing line item, we would put the magazine issues, nightly reviews, magazines, and stickers, which would be 12,955.
So that should sum up the request. Happy to answer any questions and hear your guys' thoughts, discuss.
Thank you all so much for the presentation. We'll start out with Senator Fisher.
I need to think more of you.
Senator Bailey.
Well, I'm just gonna make the motion. I know what it is. I motion, oh, no, I don't know what it is. I move to approve spending from surplus to group name student insurgent OS number OS 29212I. No. That was the wrong one. Guys, it's okay. I definitely know my group's OS number. OS 085I. Okay.
Can we do the motion for top?
Yeah, I move to approve spending from surplus to group student insurgent, OS number 085I. And 217 to tabling and promotion and 12,955 to mailing and printing.
For a total of
$13,172.
Seconded, Chisholm.
Motion made by Bailey, seconded by Chisholm.
I yield.
Senator Cruz. Thank you guys. The two original issues you guys had, I believe, was the Americana genocide. Just kind of get scrapped.
No, so they're being printed in the next week or two. So originally there was surplus money that was going to be allocated towards them. Instead, because that money got taken back at the end of the summer, we filled out a new purchase order, and that purchase order for these two issues depleted now this year's funds. So that's why we're back here requesting now money, because most of our budget, our mailing and printing budget, was used on those two issues. Now we don't have anything left to print Flesh and Fantasy and the next issue plus the Nightly Review. So those issues are very much still coming up.
Thank you. So the two you have coming up would have been like from this year's budget. And then I'm not too familiar with the Nightly Ruby, sorry about that. But it's you said 1,400 for one issue, like one every term.
Yeah,
exactly. Nightly Ruby, is it just like it's not like a magazine, right?
More of a newspaper.
More of a newspaper. So is it just more of like a recap of the term?
I mean, I guess you could call it that. It has a lot to do, Robin might want to speak to this, but it's a lot to do with, I wouldn't necessarily call it a recap of the term, more as like commentary on events of the term. Maybe Robin wants to speak to that.
Yeah, the Nightly Review is just a radical alternative to other campus media. You might notice the name is sort of like a direct opposite of the Daily Emerald. I started it first one I printed was November of last year, actually. It's almost been a full year. Maybe it has been. But I started that after budget timeline. So it wasn't factored into our budget for this year, last year. So that's why it's like here also. And yes, it is a newspaper. I would like to print more, but also printing is expensive. And one a term seems feasible with the workload, but we also have an Instagram and a website where the Instagram is typically where I can publish more moment to moment news, and a lot of that tends to be photos and short little captions. Back to you.
And you guys said it's around like 900 copies, right?
The 1,400, and Surgeon usually prints 900. There was two options, 650 copies and then 975. With this, it would probably be for the 650 amount because the 975 is a little over what they didn't give me like a proper. It was a little complicated. I print with Eagle Web Press and they increased their prices recently, but that didn't affect newspaper that much. But they didn't give me back in time like an accurate like quote of what the higher copies would be. So we just budgeted off the lower ones. So it would. And last year I printed 650 copies per term, and they all went out.
Gotcha. And then you guys were just expecting more, like in demand this year?
Yeah, but we didn't budget for more.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. How you?
Stevenson?
I don't know if this is also a Robin question or a question for you guys. I know the nightly or not the nightly Ruby, but the student insurgent has been around for quite some time. It doesn't show that there are like fundraising that you guys do. Is that correct or incorrect?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Senator Chisholm?
Yeah, I kind of want to speak to the quantity amount that Senator Perez was saying. We run out of issues extremely fast. They're very popular, and we also have racks all around campus as well as distribute to like local coffee shops and like barbers, and it's like really spread around the community. So Robin, increasing the quantity of printing is just like so we don't run out when we table and stuff more than Surgeon, like because we just run out very fast and we're always in demand. Like there are like 20K students on campus, so 900. It's serving a really big range of students, a lot more than like it's there's a really big range of students. And they always run out very fast. So an increase in printing more nightly reviews would just help us with our goal of spreading all of this beautiful artwork and writings and stuff in the student insurgent and the nightly review around campus. Right.
But when we requested we gave the money, then they spent as if they thought that was still in their thing, but it was swept because as soon as July hits, that's when the sweeps come. And you don't really know as a student or you don't get like a notification like, hey, all your funds were swept. You have to check your ledger and be like, okay, we don't have money here. Now we're on the new budget that we budgeted last year. So that's what this 845 is for. So essentially like the new money that's really being asked for that we haven't approved already is the 45, just to make it clear for everyone. Yeah, essentially.
I'm just gonna say we got approved for the surplus last year, so we're just asking for the money back that got returned to surplus.
Well, for the 845.
Yeah, the 845.
Okay. Senator Heffernan?
Yeah, I have two questions involved in and savings. Do you guys can use stickers for every issue, or are your stickers just like the two people?
Yeah, that's a good question. In the past, we've only actually, at least to my memory, we've only printed stickers once, and two of those stickers, yes, were the cover of issues. You see one of them there, the Cyber. So yes, I imagine to answer your question, I imagine we will be printing more of like the cover. But other ones, the other two you see there, the La Protesta sticker and friendship sticker. I think that is an older version. It ended up saying insurgent. Yes, a good amount of the stickers are like the cover.
Okay. And I can't actually tell if you might have just answered my question, but the 217 in tabling promotion, that's like a separate new request that wasn't budgeted into the original thing. That we approved the 845 and then tabling and promotion and the rest of the only printing. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Aiel.
Senator Smith.
Hi, sorry if I missed something that might have answered this, but do you foresee yourself having to come back to surplus later on in the year to print like more issues for like the coming terms?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, I do not. This amount should cover the next 2 magazines of the Insurgent plus 3 Nightly Rubies. It also gives us space to kind of like allocate between the 2. Like if we're doing a little, like a smaller magazine that gives more money to like the Nightly Ruby or a separate project. So no, this should account for the rest of the year as far as printing goes.
Thank you so much. I yield.
Senator Peters.
I was just looking, I read a request from last year, the tabling and promotion line item, you still have that, yes?
We do still have it. It has been expended on another
Okay,
purchase.
it was used for something else, okay, cool. That's all my questions, thank you.
Hello, thank you for coming and talking to us tonight. I have a couple of questions. I was not part of the previous Senate who discussed the. It was uploaded.
It was during summer.
Oh, that's embarrassing of me. So I was part of that. My bad. Could you recap what happened with the printing timeline and why it got missed? I know that you didn't know that surplus was going to get swept back in, but what on the timeline changed?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to answer your question correctly. So Americana and Genocide were being taken on both simultaneously, which in my personal opinion, we bit off a little bit more than we could chew, considering like the infrastructure that we had towards specifically like digitally formatting the issue. And it took a lot longer than we were hoping. As we've spoken, there like those issues are still yet to come out. Should be coming out in the next week or so. But so we had a lot of formatting to do and not a lot of help doing it. It was like 1 or 2 people who were really shouldering that responsibility, which was far from ideal. So those issues taking a little bit longer than we expected. We missed this period of printing. That surplus money got taken back. Here we are asking for it again. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and I know a lot of effort goes into this type of work. There's multiple different people and teams, and so that's totally understandable. Is that issue resolved, or do we still only have 2 people working on the issue?
Yeah, actually, I really appreciate that question. We are very much in the process of working on resolving it. In the last couple of weeks, we've been working as an editorial board. We've been working really hard on making that process collective instead of having 1 or 2 people really like bearing the brunt of the formatting. So in the last couple of weeks, we've had like the 7 or the 8 of us working on it together. In addition to, we've had a couple of those weekly meetings that I mentioned, dedicated also to formatting and helping folks who are like unfamiliar with the process, like learn the process, do a little bit of it themselves. It gives them like, some stronger impact on what the issue actually looks like. So long story short, yes, we are very much working on amending that process and making it more collective.
Okay, perfect. And is the Americana and Genocide issues totally like ready to go? If you get this money tonight, it's like ready to go to print?
I won't say 100%, but yes, Americana is very much in the final stages, just like teensy little edits and like switches, like making sure stuff is readable. And Genocide is the same.
Okay, perfect. And then with the 2 upcoming issues that are now possibly delayed due to this funding issue, are those on track to be out ready to go before the end of the next fiscal year in order for this not to happen again?
Yes, I wouldn't even necessarily say that they're being delayed. Clash of Fantasy is very much like in the closing stages of like the actual creation. Next up is the editing and then the formatting. But pending the release of Americana and Genocide, we should be able to get back to like more regular programming of working on 1 magazine and 1 Nightly Ruby at a time. Whereas right now we've got like kind of 3 issues in our hands, which is not ideal. So Flesh and Fantasy should be getting finished up towards the end of the term, printed and distributed during winter. And during winter, that next issue, which is yet to be decided, will also be being created through the same process. So I'm not anticipating delays on those 2 issues.
Okay, perfect. And maybe this is something that you discuss as a group. This is something that I'm really sensitive to as a grad student, but burnout, it might be worthwhile to just push back production on all of these and just run with Americana and genocide as the issues up next. But that's just an idea to help you all with that type of workload. But then my next question is, with the nightly Ruby, I missed this and I apologize for that. Have you already started producing the nightly Ruby? Yeah, you know, the center daily for this year. Like ever. There's 3. Go back. Okay, so those weren't proofs. Those were like you printed them.
I printed them. The first nightly Ruby, which is the one with the Palestine flag, I actually printed with UO printing, but they don't do newspaper. So then I pivoted to Eagle Web Press. But I actually printed the first nightly Ruby. That was my first term here. And November, like week 5 or 6 of my first term at UO, I printed a newspaper. And managed to collect all of that. So I can deliver on a deadline. At least those are the 3 that I did pretty much each term. And I think the first one was only like 8 pages, but the rest were like 16, I think. So doubled. This term, I've been spending so much of my time on formatting the 44-page zine of A People's Guide to the University of Oregon with my good friend Valentine Benz. So production on the Ruby for this term has stalled a little bit, but the point of the money in this request is that it can be moved around as needed. If I end up not being able to produce a Ruby this term, then that money could go, it's in the same line item, could go to a longer issue of either Flesh and Fantasy or the next one. Or I might end up being able to do it like beginning of winter. Eagle Web Press runs on a totally different timeline than you have to do. Love you so much. So and they can ship an issue back in 2 days. Setting the files. Sure. Issue opening. So it's really up to like a capacity thing for me, but Rubies can and do get done.
Okay, and are we seeing the same demand? Because the nightly Ruby doesn't carry the student insurgent name, so I'm curious about crossover on interest and demand on the nightly Ruby. Because that, yeah, for 3 terms and that type of money is a lot without the name brand of student insurgent.
Yeah, I will say the little circle behind the eye is actually the insurgent logo, but it's black. And also within the cover on the about page of the Nightly Ruby, it does say it's publication within the student insurgent. And on our Instagram, it also says that. And I produce it. I have people who submit to the Ruby, people that I've assigned to stories for the Ruby within Insurgent and within the rest of sort of the Canvas left circle. But I would say the demand is very high. I just have like pretty much officially like ran out of the latest issue, the May 22nd one. It lasted me until like around the 1st or 2nd week of like this year because we tabled with them at like some of the introductory events. And I will say like when the feedback that I got from the people that I organized with on the Ruby was just that it was immensely positive. And I think it's something that's deeply needed. The Insurgent just cannot handle itself as a magazine being both these like long pieces of like art and culture and open submissions from like everyone everywhere and also do news at the same time. I think it's impossible. And that's why I'm here and part of the Insurgent to be able to bring back the history of it because it started as a newspaper in the 80s and then transitioned into more of a magazine. And that was my pitch when I came to Insurgent was I can bring a newspaper back. All I need is money. And they were like, sure. So I guess it's that same question again is do you think this kind of alternative journalism that students that aren't necessarily within these big publications, maybe students that aren't even journalism majors, being able to write and practice rhetoric and like process and document like historic events, like them calling the riot police on us or getting targeted by UOB for giving comment at a board of trustees meeting, or being absolved of all crimes for participating in Palestine actions, just to name a few of the cover stories on your screen.
Okay, so you would say that the demand is high enough to warrant this type of money?
Yeah, I wouldn't print it if people didn't want it, I would say.
Okay. And then with that, I yield.
I move to call a question.
Motion call to question. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. And the motion. Overhead. Overhead. I want to get that. Jenkins Cox. Chisholm. Dickinson. Fisher. Questenberry. Ludeman.
Aye.
And I say aye. Congrats, guys.
It's your time, everyone.
Just to be clear, if you're abstaining, it's because you have a conflict of interest, not because you don't want to vote. You still have to vote.
I was just.
Or if you miss conversation as well, but just to be clear.
You heard. All right. Yeah. Let's maintain order. And next up, we have the ad team. Thank you all for waiting.
Hi, thank you for having us. I'm Hannah at ASUO, and we are both account managers on UO Ad Team. So Ad Team is a student-run organization based out of the SOJC, and we have a team of 33 students. While we on Ad Team, we're also part of the American Advertising Federation, and with that, we get to compete in the National Student Advertising Competition. So we work all year to build an advertising campaign for one major brand. This year, it's the NFL. And so we're asking for $448 to be added to existing line item AAF chapter member dues, which would make the total $1,980. And we need this to pay our AAF dues, which unfortunately were raised this year and are now $60 per member. And so with our 33 members, these dues allow us to participate in the AAF network and ultimately allows us to compete at NSACs. And yeah, it's really important to our team to be able to compete at NSACs, and we're able to bring back a lot of valuable insight to the SRJC. And
thank you guys so much. We got a few people on the list, and we'll start with. Let's start with Fisher.
Hi guys, thanks so much for being here. Couple questions. Where do I want to start? I will start. Okay, so is the competition that you go to another expense that you have?
yes, so in order to go to the competition, this is the first step. You have to be an AAF member to then register for the competition. So it is part of it, but that is a separate registration fee, is to register to actually go to the competition. So yes, Anna.
Got it. Do you have funds to go to the competition?
Yeah, we have a line item in our budget currently for that. We might end up, we just found out where the competition is going to be this past week.
Okay.
And that changes costs and everything. It is gonna be in Portland, so it should be a little bit
For you guys.
Yeah, it's awesome. We kind of actually like tried to get it to be in Portland this year so that we could tour more agencies and stuff. But anyway, so yeah, we might end up needing more money to go to the competition. But we just found out everything, so we're still figuring it out.
Makes total sense. How much money do you have for competition? I was looking at the ledger, but I was confused, honestly.
It's, I don't know exactly what it's called. I think it's the first line, but it's around 4,000.
I don't know I have the right. Are we on the fund summary page?
Yeah, fund summary. Yeah, total 3,522,770.
Mine says 1.9, but I'm just gonna, there's. That I read.
And when I'm looking at that Tom sent, it says there's $800 left in the line item.
That's fine, I'm probably stupid. Okay, I'll send it to you. Okay. I see. Perfect. Okay, thank you. My second question, do they typically raise member dues? And if so, like how often and about how much?
I was last year and I wasn't part of the budgeting process for this year, but I can say they were, I think last year about $50 to $55. So I know they definitely increased from last year. And then we've also have more members this year. I think we had about 27 last year, 33 this year. So kind of, we can't exactly estimate what it's gonna be.
Yeah. When you, so this is for the member dues. Does every member, can you explain like how the competition works? Does every member collaborate on one thing and then you all go to Portland, or is it like, how does that work?
Yeah, so we have 7 different disciplines of like copywriting, like art direction, account management, project management, everything, media. So the whole team works in those disciplines and also together to build one mock advertising campaign. And each year a major company buys into it. So last year we had AT&T, this year NFL. And so we compete against different colleges, like most colleges around the nation have a team in some sort. So we go to the competition and compete against our district. That's the first competition. And then if we win, last year we won, we got first place last year. And we move on to regionals, which is over Zoom, so we don't have any cost for that. And then nationals, which we didn't make it to, but hopefully. But yeah, so there's presenters that technically have to be there to present, but historically every ad team member has gone to the competition. We've never not had someone go unless they couldn't go.
Okay. Thank you. You guys are great.
Hi, I'm your academic tag, but I haven't reached out to you yet. I reached out to 2 other of my friends. I changed them. Anyway, hi, it's nice to see you. I was wondering if you guys existed, but turns out you do, and you do a lot, actually. So, that's great. I'll just make the motion. It's 440, right?
Yeah.
There's like another number in here. Yeah. But it's just 440. Yeah, it's 440. Okay. I'll make the motion. I move to authorize spending from surplus. It grew. Sorry, I'm still learning how to navigate these quickly. Add team OS number 005I. Yes. In the amount of $440 to existing line item. Is it AF chapter member dues?
Second Stevenson.
Motion made by Bailey, seconded by Stevenson. We now have a motion out and we'll move to Senator, do you yield?
Yes.
And we'll now move to Senator Heffernan.
I yield.
Senator Peters.
Just looking at your ledger, you guys have already, when is the competition?
In spring.
So the $3,000 that you guys have spent from your NSAAC regional competition line in from October is from what? Do you know?
I have to check because the copy of our budget that I have is the same as it's been since the beginning of the year. And we haven't bought anything yet. So I don't know where that would be.
Interesting. Okay. We've been having some problems with travel, though, and like stuff. So,
In your opinion, should this get tabled then, or?
I mean, no, because it's not the same line item. It's just that right now they have $800 in the regional competition line. So that essentially means, oh, I mean, have to come back. Do you guys want to come look at, I'm going to show you the copy of our ledger I have. I would say no, because this is not related, but I do.
That was it. Senator Stevenson.
I motion for a recess. Is that what
That's calling actually. 5-minute recess.
No, I can call.
Students are afraid to head in.
No, the motion's going now.
When you said that, I have to go back and forth. I literally, I was like, no, where you just saying, no. Right in wrong. That's what I'm saying. They were up there for damn.
Yeah. Happened with.
Okay, I left when they started asking.
Okay.
But still, I don't know.
I was.
So I was like, I'm not gonna vote.
I didn't know what you meant by, I forgot what we were talking about. I thought you meant like in general.
But I also meant that too, I can't even let.
Yeah. That's why I. Taxes, that was where the.
Shall it be really easy, man?
No, I think so.
I like when like they're just
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at this is FY. So it would make sense that this is for travel for next year. And it's $35. So does that make sense? Was that about how much travel?
No, it was more when we got surplus.
I know.
So it was on, it might have been, that might have been what we originally budgeted. That's why I do think
That's gonna be a burden.
there was, yeah,
Oh, they.
it wasn't around, if we did, it would have been very much less, smaller numbers than that. I had a couple,
Okay.
anyway, that would be, I would not have been, yeah, I would have not, and I don't think those ever even ended up getting submitted by our, but if they would have, it would.
How you doing?
So you just here.
Sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
Like I'm not like putting hard to sit.
I didn't buy a single thing other than like groceries, like essential, like I only bought essential. And it worked really good. Like I got paid, and I still haven't spent any money, really.
I know how you feel. I know how you feel. Kind of allowing it, that kind of time, save so much money.
Yeah.
You don't save money because you just see your bank account. I know.
But even like the no buy was like a daily thing of like, well, I'm not gonna buy anything. And then eventually I just accepted it. So now it's like, it's easier to like, I don't buy coffee, I'll make it. And it's like literally.
I know exactly, I know. Before. I walked in, Place manual.
I know. You know what? Like a couple of weeks back, I've been trying to, but I have to, like, I wanted to get it back. I was fixing it. When they had that hot honey, oh, baby. I was last week, and I was like, can I get the 13 on Rosemary Farm with the hot honey? And they were like, we don't do the hot honey anymore. And I'm like, I'll leave it.
I know. Like at that point, I'm getting Subway.
Oh.
They have a 6-inch footlong of drink and either 2 minis or chips for $6.99.
For real?
And it's a different half-inch or a 6-inch sub every day. So I was getting the meatball one on Thursdays. Spiked up. But I don't. They do salmon Sunday, bro. I don't like that.
Yours is just like so fresh.
Yeah, but I just.
They really got rid of my hot honey, and I'm like,
At this point, I just can't do it. Yeah.
Really?
In comparison to Subway, it's literally like 4 times like
so. I just don't cut it in front of me, but I think make it up.
Depends on what you're getting. So, like, I like a hot sandwich.
Oh no.
Yeah, I graduated at AA. I clear it. Nice to meet you. What's your name? Christina? Isabel? Yeah. Awesome. I am. I'm a law student. I'm also master's in health administration. So, yeah. I love that. A lot of math, but this is my brain. I'm like,
Terry,
How's the, probably repairing.
Oh, yeah.
beyond me. There you go. Oh, that's awesome. When people start learning.
The artist did both of these, and she's my favorite. Yeah, her name's Nikki. She's at Sleepy in Springfield. She's awesome. I love her so much. If you're looking for a Nikki at Plain PhD, literally still. She's amazing.
That's fire.
Like, you know, I want to see my. Okay, see, that's what got me. I used to think like, I always be like, I think it's because it used to be like, they were like, ever. And then one day I just went, got a little guitar pick, like right here on my thigh. And I was like, yeah, and I didn't want to, I didn't. And now, they're so cool. Like, I was like, you want to try something else? That's fine. And they don't like that. You didn't get it. It might actually liberate. You're before the wedding. Absolutely. But I was really, I just. Heterosexual couple, the woman can't get a single phone call. The man, he should get her name. He should be carried. But she can't get anything related to him. And that's because she does okay. And you have to prove it. To be fair, I'm not to buy her. I really buy her. I've been like I got a tattoo of his and gave for me 3 months after I got the other. They look beautiful stuff. And he did it. That's good. That's fine. No. Why would you not do that? Why would you not just do it? And he was, and he didn't work out.
All right, and we are back. So after the meeting, it seems like there are some issues with the ledger. So we are just going to, I recommend we just deny this request. We'll come back and then we'll go forward. I move to call the question. Motion made by Gill, seconded by Bailey. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion rejected request. Yes. Oh, yeah. All right, and we're moving the vote down. So we're now voting on the motion. Those opposed say aye. Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
All right, the motion's denied. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully we'll figure it out. Thank you.
Why did you want to vote on it?
All right, and next up, we have the American Society of Landscape Architects. And then let's all maintain order now that we're back on a new request. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'll make this quick because I know it's late. I'm Aiden. I'm the treasurer of student chapter of the American Society of Landscape Architects. I'm here to request assistance for 2 charges related to the conference. that we went to at the beginning of the term. And based on earlier conversation, I think I might know the answer to one of the questions already, but I'm not here, so I'm gonna try. The first charge was the travel agent overbooked us without consulting me by $396. And I did tell her that we could cut one of our days to the conference if the costs ended up going over, but there was no communication and money spent. So we're hoping to even out that aspect. And then the second request was for food and transit. We did put that in our budget last year. I think the previous board didn't actually know that we could get food and transit covered. So it wasn't included in our budget for this trip. And I totally understand that to make this equitable for everybody, this might not be approved, but I'm here, so yes. Anyway, that would still put us beneath that $12,000 like recommended amount, maybe like right at that $12,000 other trips and so yeah. Curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for waiting all night.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify for the trips. The trip was what on, and then how, or I guess, what was the total cost of the trip, including like what you requested in surplus?
The total cost, including what they overspent us.
Yeah.
Okay, the total cost was $10,200.
Okay.
And we're requesting $1,800 to cover food and transit. So that would put us right at that 12,000.
But the trip already happened.
The trip already happened, yeah, and it was 10,000.
And you guys were within budget, but then the travel agency like charged you wrong essentially.
Yeah, well, we like gave options of if the cost went over, because this was the whole thing this summer with the flight costs going up and everything. So in case of like costs kept going up, I gave options like, hey, we can cut the first day, so to reduce costs or whatever. And then they just booked it over our budget without cost complaining, so.
Okay, thank you.
By that 400, yeah.
And then Senator Bailey.
Hi, I'm really sorry about the travel agent thing that happened. Could we even reimburse, how many days has it been since?
The trip was October 9th through 13th, I think.
I'm pretty sure there's technically no rules about like personal reimbursement timeline, but ideally, like it has to happen within the term. Okay.
I was under the impression that it had to be within 30 days of them that was spent, at least when I've done personal reimbursement. But that would still be within that timeline, so. Also still.
Yeah, that was my worry, but does it like not matter when it comes from surplus? Okay.
Julie just said in the chat 30 days after the trip, so it's 30, but it's again still within the timeline, so.
Okay, and you have all of like the receipts from all that.
Yeah, that's from every receipt that was saved.
Okay, that's good. I don't really have any other questions, so I'm just gonna put the motion on the floor because I need to practice doing this because I've not done a very good job tonight. I move to authorize spending from surplus to group American Society of Landscape Architects, Rural Chapter, OS number 284, in the amount of $2,153 to line item, existing line item, ASLA National Conference.
Second is yours.
I yield.
Motion made by Bailey, seconded by Peters. Happening.
I have a question about the food and transit reimbursements. Is that going back to, like, would you put that back on, is that in every like student pocket, or is it back to your budget, your like budgets?
It will go back to the students who spent out of pocket for that. That's it. Okay, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And if there's any more questions, we'll move to vote. Starting with Perez. Aye. Peters.
Aye.
Taylor. Aye. Smith. Operative. Heffernan. Amodiapic. Jenkins Scott.
Aye.
Chisholm. Nagarajan. Aye. Stevenson. Aye. Bailey.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Questenberry. Lindemann. And I say aye as well. Congrats, guys. Yeah, thank you for waiting. Sorry you had to deal with travel agency. You're not the only org, and we're gonna get to the bottom of that. So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And next we have Romance Languages Graduate Student Association. Thank you all again for waiting all night. We appreciate you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. My name is Isabel. I'm the president of the oral today. And we are requesting $1,750. This has to do with our events last year. So last April we received surplus funding for for training that we did, which was on campus at the Old River Park, and we contracted with the city team, the Park Cultural River House, to do some events for us. So we received surplus funding in the amount of $1,275. That was back in last April. We combined that with $700 from our line item called our tree. And then we spent some of that $700 on location reservation, decorations, survey plates, things like that for the event. And therefore, that was $1,750 we paid to the state for that. We had the event successfully. It went really well on April 12th of last year, with 25 people. River House employees, work for the city of Eugene. They planned teen events, rafting, and archery for 25 people. And so it was a full day of events. And then we worked with Karen and Nagi from ASUO to make a key card payment to the River House on Facebook. We found that we approved successfully. We got an email with our group from Ken. However, yesterday we found out that our account was frozen because the money was not properly processed at the end of the year. We had no idea this would happen until yesterday, so it was pretty surprising. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I just wanted to specify that we requested that the money be dispersed under Department of Social / Fridays, even though it has to be free, because that's where our bank balance shows on our form.
Thank you for explaining that so well. I am sorry that happened to you guys, and once again dealing with another administrative issue, so sorry about that. I will just highlight like a lot of this money, since it was allocated from surplus last year and was given to an org and was swept, like essentially this money that they had last year is just sitting in surplus now. So Questenberry.
Thank you for sticking around, and thank you for explaining that so clearly. I love grad clubs, so good work. It's incredibly difficult to run any organization, but especially as grad students. So great work to both of you and your whole organization. Very clearly, this was just an administrative error, so I'm going to make the motion. I move to authorize spending from surplus to Romance Languages Graduate Student Association OS number OS 185I in the amount of $1,750 for line item Department Socials / Funding Fridays.
Motion made by Questenberry, seconded by Stevenson. Senator Stevenson. All right, and if that's all the questions, we move to vote. Starting with Perez. Peters.
Aye.
Taylor. Smith.
Aye.
Operative. Heffernan.
Aye.
Amodiapic. Jenkins Scott. Chisholm. Nagarajan. Stevenson. Bailey.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Questenberry.
Aye.
Lindemann.
Aye.
And I say aye as well. Thank you guys so much. And that concludes financial business for the evening, or I guess it concludes our surplus request for the evening. We will now move into our overview of benchmarks and welcome Justin Bagley on.
that they. I didn't know if we can review. That's not good. Okay. I guess. What would you like me to go
So
over?
we could have you go over just the quick very sort of like anything that's changed since last week, a quick breakdown of the committees, and then we'll kind of go through each committee, and then if there's no more questions, we'll vote.
Yeah. So to my knowledge, there are no changes from last week's benchmarks at all. So all the benchmarks that you saw last week, all the requests, all the things of that nature, they're all the same from last week. There are no changes. I know that PFC, there are some changes and maybe some changes later on. And it still stands at where it is. Obviously, it's their benchmark, so they are coded. You guys are able to change them throughout the year, well, up until budget bonanza. Yeah, I mean, it's just so important, isn't it? That there is concern about club organizations and the funding of them, of course. Everyone agrees that we should fund our clubs and orgs to that extent, to the furthest extent that we can. The issue that we're coming up on is if we want to go through the whole 5% process of going to the board of trustees that we went through last year. So that's like a larger conversation that obviously the chair, senate, and executive have on if we are all behind a 5% plus increase in the IP, which would require board of trustees and the group from Schultz and all that. So that's definitely something to look into. The initial opposition, though, it is just due to the concerns that we had last year. Also, just some information that we've got from members within Schultz's like inner circle. So Angela and Moffat and all that, they don't think it's possible. So that's why we're at the 4.5 rather than above 5. We're at 5 is just for that reason. But if we have a collective resounding yes that we want to go above 5% from everyone in the ASUO legislative exec, then obviously that's something that we are more than able to do.
Justin. We will start with PFC. We'll pull up the PFC budget, and then you can go over any changes or make another comment.
The top bits are frozen, that's why it's not maybe. If you guys all look at the PFC benchmark spreadsheet that I shared with you all last week, that has every single org's requested budget, the increased amount, all of those things. The bottom of that spreadsheet tells us those important things, like that student orgs have requested $3 million. After a week of budget hearing, I'm feeling some uncertainties that we will be able realistically to hit a benchmark of 2.315. And I just want to let you all know that, make sure that you guys are on the same page. Student orgs requested $2.4 million last year. We cut them by $250,000. This year, we would have to triple that reduction in budgets to hit this benchmark. And we're cutting budgets a lot in budget hearing, right, Andrew? Yeah, really so fun. You guys should join us. However, at the current trajectory, it's looking like we're going to have to do a recall process, which means that after we do all of the student org budgets, if we're trying to stay below 5%, we will have to recall student orgs and have a second hearing. Cole?
So just so I understand, if we where does that money come from?
That's the so if you approve hitting the IP above 5%. That would be what it is. Yeah. So if you approve a number above 5%, that money's going to be the IP for next year. So basically every single everything else would just every single student so for me, I think it'd be at $150 right now. With an increase it would be at like $12, actually $12.
And how much of that, like the IP increase, how much of that would go towards specifically PFC? Do we know? Where
it would be a breakdown between all the 3 committees. It's a conversation between all the committees. Well, just go to PFC if all committees agree.
go towards a contract, a little bit go to a contract and a little bit go to a department, things like that. But if you guys are increasing the risk of some close organizations, then it most likely will just be that. Great, go to kids.
Kayla, go you first. Um, what do you? I trust you. I trust the work that you've already done. What do you think? Say it loud.
Okay. This is after like an hour-long discussion with exec today. I think we keep going the things that are going. We're trying really, really hard to cut budgets. I think we're approving an average increase, maybe like 1,200, 1,500. We are not approving large increases. We are cutting every single budget basically that is coming before us. The truth is, it's just that student works have requested, and it's like unprecedented level of funds. However, in discussing with like Cash and Daphne, what we said is like, if we have to come before the board of trustees, if at the end of budgets, we go before the board of trustees, we fight, we tell them this is why we have requested this increase. And that way we show student boards that this is what we want and that we're not able to achieve it. However, it's kind of complicated and we're doing our best as a committee to try as much as we can I think we can get close to the benchmark. Justin?
I just want to say that while that number's at $3 million, I want to just kind of go back and like look at the years past and all that. I think that's really important to look at history and what students historically have spent. Just so that we're not jumping the gun. This is like kind of my main argument of maybe why we should hold off that 5%, kind of wait until at like the middle, until we're actually at the middle of the budget plan. So waiting more towards like September-ish time. So in 2023, 2024, PFC allotted $1.8 million, $627,000 was swept back to surplus. So that's the average usually between 2023 to 2024. So the past 2 years, 2024, 2025, 1.9 was allocated from PFC and 656 was returned to surplus. So that was this year. So that's why surplus is larger than what we expected because of the amount that was returned. Last year, PFC allocated 2.24. So historically looking at, how much student works are actually spending, I would estimate that number to be between 450 to be really like lenient, be helpful to around that $16,000 mark. So that's kind of that's what I took into account when making the benchmark at 2315. It's just historically looking at how much student works has went back. So yes, while the request is at $3 million from all student boards, is that money used? And historically, the answer is no. That money is not used.
I think benchmarks are fluid, like Justin said. I think we can set our benchmark at this and have this be our goal and see where we end up in February. Sandra, do you have anything to add?
I mean, just from like this first week alone, like kind of what Marisol said, we've been doing a lot, trying to like, ideally want to give like as much of an increase as we can to student works on our budget request. That's like within reason. But we try to keep it as minimal as we could. That still benefits them. But still at this pace, as much of a minimal increase we're giving is still going to be high.
Whenever you guys are done, there's this morning.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
I just want to add that we are at 4.5 goes to 4.9, by the way. For the IPO without any authorization from other purchases. So I think that's like important right now. Set at 4.5, but we can obviously move that. I prefer to move it later than sooner, obviously, but if there is some room, that was kind of in the calculus of making the number at 4.5, but not very, very at 4.9.
Sure.
I'm going to do whatever you think. And I just want you to tell me what to do. Okay. I fully trust, and this is gonna be the statement I'm gonna make for CFC and DFC too. Like, y'all did work, I trust what you did. You tell me what you want. Cause I trust you.
I want to set benchmark at this with the understanding that this is a lofty goal.
So you would like us to pass this?
Yeah.
I will be voting yes.
I did just put a point on each finance committee, your guys' scrutiny is actually very important. Every finance committee is gonna be advocating for their budget. Like, they think of us and our finance committee with bias towards our tax to a degree. It is student orgs, so like PFC holds a special place for sure.
Don't they all match?
With the PFC increase, it would not match, but when the board of trustees, because our match budget, the budget we got about last week would not require any board of trustees like action or like, we would just be able to pass it.
I thought we said nothing changed. What changed? Nothing changed.
I'm just saying that after a week of budget hearings.
I see might go over.
No.
Yeah, so basically the current, like, projection, if they were to continue to spend on the rate they're spending right now on PFC, they would go over the benchmark set or like put down right now at 231 is what it is. That's what it would say.
And if we were to go over that, that's when we get the process of raising the IP, right?
Raising the benchmark initially, so from 4.5 up to 4.9, and then if that doesn't cover it, then yes, up to 5%.
So yeah, we're obviously like aiming for the benchmark. That's why at this pace, we probably wouldn't go.
Sorry, I think that. I might just, I'm honestly being so confused right now. Are we not voting on the things that we went over last week?
Yeah.
Where you guys matched you,
That was
and
my-
you guys matched you, and everyone matched.
That was my confusion, I just misunderstood what was happening. I was just trying to say like, it's good for you guys to decide when they do present these. Nothing has changed since last week. I was under the impression that when they were talking about like the potential for things rising, I thought that was happening right now, so I just
Okay, but
understood, but it's not. No.
Okay, so everything that we saw last week, where CFC and DFC and PFC matched what exec thought was reasonable. Everyone matched and everyone agrees.
Yeah.
And that's why I trust you, not because they're advocating for PFC, but because they all separately.
Yeah, that was a miscommunication on my part. Everyone?
Yeah, I want to clarify. This PFC, DFC, CFC, these numbers have not changed. We are talking about the potential of in the future, maybe planning to raise the IP, right? This number is not reflective of that. This number is the 4.5 number.
No, this number hasn't changed. But I'm just saying, as we discuss benchmarks, post a week of budget hearings, I want you all to know that this is the situation we as a committee are in and be prepared for the very likely situation that we do not hit this.
Yes. So
But we're only voting on this.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
This is our initial measure.
this is the initial, it's probably like, yes, it's probably gonna come back and pitch for more, but this is the same number that we reviewed last week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Senator Smith?
So I'm just gonna.
Keys your mic.
Yeah. I'm just gonna yield to you both after, but if like things go unideally and you have to raise stuff and you have to go through budget hearings again and do a second round, are you just gonna like go through and see, like look at works that you can possibly decrease and like hear just them? Would that be how it goes? I yield to President Peters.
That would be a discussion that we have as a committee. I think it depends on the financial situation, like it depends on the number that we're at the end of budget hearings.
I think also it's really important to say, like, if we go through the process of the board of trustees, we won't know until like March or something like that anyway. So if the board of trustees denies it, then that will be the process, obviously. with that is that PFC unfortunately has the hard task of cutting budgets, if the board doesn't approve the increase. But if it's with the, basically what I'm saying is in January, we're gonna have a huge discussion if we want to raise it. If we want to raise it, then PFC will operate under the impression that that increase is going to happen to fund those organizations to that extent of the IP.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this right, the second budget hearing would most likely only happen if like the board of trustees was like, no, I don't.
The board of trustees.
Yeah, okay, thank you, I yield.
Yeah, so. If we're gonna raise the I fee, that has to be something that we're not. And I'm speaking as someone, this is my first fucking time interacting with all of this, so I may be speaking very flippantly here. Excuse me for that, but if we're gonna raise the I fee, then we all have to be kind of behind that. The reason why I'm going to assume it hasn't worked in the past is because like the people trying to do that haven't organized to do that. Because if you gain enough popular support, it's pretty hard for university officials to say no, depending on what that popular support looks like. And I do think we're at a point like financially where I think a lot of the returning of funds to surplus has been administrative error, and at least a large portion of it. And if we're trying to like increase the accessibility of like how to use money appropriately, ideally clubs are going to be using their money more, and we can't just, I think we should like not rely on this like fiction of what surplus, like, oh, things are just gonna go back to surplus, or clubs are just gonna send their money back to surplus. Because that's what's like led us to that kind of thinking or interacting with money has led us to the situation that we're in now, where we're having to have these like hour-long conversations with clubs about like we can't fund these kinds of things anymore. But like getting more money and us raising the I fee. I don't think that's possible. I think we just have, that would mean like work and organizing and like rhetoric and like actually engaging like clubs in that process, because it's like you want more money, you're gonna have to help us fight for that. You're gonna have to like go to board of trustees and testify. And you know, say we need this money because we're clubs and we're students, and you talk about this Oregon Rising plan, but you don't want to raise the I fee so that clubs and students can actually be supported. I haven't seen that ever from ASUO in the past, in any past attempts to raise the I fee. I didn't even know if there have been any, and that's bad.
There was last year, we raised the IB to 5.7%. Jordan?
Yeah.
Ideal.
Or can I?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I was part of those conversations with Schultz, and the argument we used back then, which was not the right one if we knew the future, but we didn't know the future. So is the year before it was like a 2-point-something% increase, which was really low. And then so the argument was like, oh, it was really low that last year, so we raised it more this year. So there will be I don't think there may be whiplash from Board of Trustees and President Schultz. I would imagine there won't be, because there's been so much financial issues throughout the university, that if we come to them and say, hey, we had to raise the I fee a lot more because of, you know, the state of the university, the state of Oregon, the state of the federal government, I think that argument holds water, or that's kind of more in the future than we are right now. So I don't think it's impossible to make the points to Schultz and the board of trustees why we had to raise it so much. It is harder because of how the finance chairs, which I was part of, so blame me. And the former president kind of made that argument at the time. So yeah, a little bit of extra.
And also to clarify, we are raising the IP, it's just how much we're raising it by. It's like going over that 5% threshold is when we then have to get additional approval, but we are within jurisdiction to raise it within 5% every year as much as possible.
Yeah, I'm foreseeing a future in which we have to go over that this time. Because otherwise we don't really have to like worry.
Senator Perez. Yeah, I mean, I really don't want to like keep raising the IP. But another thing like we discussed earlier is we're PSC's plan on having like second round of budget hearings. And we're also telling boardings like as soon as like they come in and we start our budget hearing, like, hey guys, this is the financial situation we're in. And so we let them know right away, like, yeah, we might come to this agreement right now as a committee, but just be prepared. So we already have that like readiness for if we have to come back to that. So we're already trying to make as much cuts as we can on the request, but also willing to cut it any more if it comes to that. So I think it's first of all.
Basically, we can make this benchmark happen. It will realistically take 2 rounds of budget hearings.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm like pro clubs like not getting like costs increase year after year. So we're gonna have to expect to be able to fund that increase by like taxing students more. And then you get more club stuff, more people going to clubs. You need more money to fund that. I don't think like that's our money and that's where our power as students is like the IV. So I don't know. I guess I don't.
There are other people on the list, so before
Yeah,
we start
I know.
yielding back or Senator Chisholm.
I'm wondering about if you have any data on what the clubs were gonna use the surplus for that it ended up getting returned to, because I just am off the bat thinking of like Insurgent's case for this past year, like they were going to use the money, but then it got swept back because the fiscal year ended. But like what are other clubs returning it for? Like, is it like events not going through? Do you have any data on that?
I don't have any physical data with me, but through conversations with Ken and Sauce online, that is very much true. Most of it is more on the admin side of things, but there were some events that fell through. And a lot of it kind of comes like overestimated when it comes to PFC. Hearings like overestimating on events, how much it's going to cost like that. So that kind of gets back to surplus. But there are many things, especially at the end of the year, where orgs are kind of rushing to spend their budget and they just don't they don't fill out a form right or things of that nature happens. So there are possibilities, yes. But yeah, the number is usually at $600,000 or more. So I would expect that I expect like the number of things swept into like errors.
Just feel like if I'm understanding this right, if we go to the board of trustees to ask for an increase, like having that number there is not a good, like that's how much they return. So, like, does anybody know like where that can be fixed? Like, would it be a thing for PFC to like is there
So 2 parts. First question based on budget hearings, there are 3 reasons why student orgs return money to surplus. First is that last year they got a ton of money from surplus for a very, very, very expensive travel thing that didn't end up costing as much as they thought. The other reason is the end of year issues. Then another reason that we've also been seeing is unspent stipends. And then our plan to work on not having as large of a return to surplus this year is we're working with SOS to develop a training for student work leaders on how to spend their funds, because it's really, really hard to spend your money if you don't know how to use Engage. So just we are that's like our biggest
And we're also working to support student leaders better in transition, because that's a big problem, is that knowledge isn't getting passed down in transition and all that.
Okay. Thank you.
VP Ackman.
Just a point of information, there is a cap at how much we can raise it beyond that 5% as well to 7%. So that is a constitutional, within, the ASUO constitution, that we can't raise it that much. Although I would need to check if we can't raise it that much without going to the higher education, the state legislature. So that would be a whole nother jump of going to like, not the Board of Trustees boss, but the Board of Trustees old boss, essentially. So it is a simplified word. Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, and I yield. For agreeing to that, request, what's 0% after that? Yes.
Also,
But I would double check that though.
to that point, if we go to the Board of Trustees and they say no, we can also appeal to the HEC and like override the Board of Trustees and go to the HEC for like I don't know, if really it's a 5.7 like increase as well. So if the Board of Trustees say no, it's not an immediate like no. And also from what I've heard in the past, a lot of people say that the HEC doesn't usually say no to increases, but that's.
If I can add on to that as well, the Board of Trustees did not shut down the increase of the IB. The main fight is with Schultz and getting his approval, because that's still through Schultz and then goes to the Board of Trustees. Once they get that Schultz, usually an approval by the Board of Trustees.
We're doing yield, so go grab that and say for.
And then also, I think with the Schultz, there is a point if, just so y'all know, like this hasn't happened in recent memory either, but if it gets into like us versus, not versus, but in discussion with Schultz for too long, there's special circumstances that get in place there. So I would highly recommend, I'm gonna go do this as well, going back through like budget process, constitution, the understanding that.
What's Mary?
I would like to thank you all for the terrific work that you are doing. I went to the budget hearings last night and you all are being really good on clubs, cutting down where you can. So I'd like to say you all are doing terrific work. And this is quite the feat to put on. I just would like some clarification on what we are doing right now. We're just voting on approving the benchmarks as they were set last week, in which everything aligns. Yes. And if, as projections show, we might have to revisit this conversation, we can do that at a later point. What is the procedure that I need to do to put this in?
Make a motion to approve the PFC benchmark.
Okay, I move to approve the PFC benchmark.
Second, Fisher.
Motion made by Questenberry, seconded by Fisher. And then Stevenson not here. We will move the vote.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. And the PFC benchmark has been approved. I thought that was gonna be the hardest one, so I wanted to get it. Moving on to CFC, any changes to report or?
The ours is exactly the same as last week. We've already reduced the request amounts from some of our service providers to match the number here, and it's a pretty rigid budget at the moment. So I think, yeah, pretty rigid budget at the moment. And I think if there's any changes, it'll be within our already allotted or requested amount, just between the different contracts.
Any motions? Heffernan, sorry.
Sorry, mine wasn't about this. Mine was a parliamentary procedure question. Do we have to be able to do roll call for financial business?
It's not like an exact number. We're just like approving what's been presented, so I think the application's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for the actual budget, we will for sure be a roll. Senator Fisher.
I move to approve the CFC benchmarks.
Second.
Motion made by Fisher, seconded by Questenberry. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The CFC benchmark is approved. Moving now to DFC.
Yeah, so ours has not changed at all as of right now. It might change a little bit. We are starting our budget hearings upcoming week. And then, yeah, we also, yeah, I'm meeting with Duckreds tomorrow. There might be stuff that changes. So we'll see what happens with all of that. But as of right now, this is exactly the same as last week.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Senator Fisher.
Do you expect any massive changes?
We might change the prison ed program, which I believe we're meeting with them next Thursday, to meet the exec rec. Because I think that makes more sense for what they want to do. We're currently under the exec rec. Yeah, there's a few that I think could possibly change, and that might be the Women's Center also. And yeah, prison ed, Women's Center, and maybe duck rides. Probably not.
But currently you are under the exact recommendation.
0.1%.
I move to approve DFC benchmarks.
Second.
Motion made by Fisher, seconded by Taylor. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Benchmark is approved. Oh,
So there's a difference in the benchmarks. You have to specify which one you guys want.
yes, that is a great point. You move to approve the DFC committee benchmark recommendation. If you can. It is the DFC benchmark, but they don't align, so we should specify that it's the committee, not exec's benchmark that we're approving.
I move to approve the DFC committee benchmark.
Second question.
Motion made by Fisher, seconded by Questenberry. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. And the benchmark is approved. Also, shout out to DFC as well, because they've been doing a lot of hard negotiating and they're at a 2.3% increase. And DFC is half of all of ASU's budget. So like that's a lot of work right there. So thank you guys. All right, that concludes our benchmark hearing. Thank you guys. We will dive into quick updates. Starting with the finance committees and Peters.
So super fast, I sent you guys last week the schedule for budget hearings. The location is listed on the schedule. I'm about to add in January in a couple of like next week. The final edits that student orgs can make to their budgets are Friday at 5 p.m. Friday at 5 p.m. Student orgs cannot edit their budget until they are in hearings. They cannot make any more changes to the engaged form. Yes, call.
That's the 7th of this month for clarification.
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, and I'll send out an email tomorrow morning to all student orgs reminding them of that. And I think that, oh yeah, just come to our hearings. They're so fun and it'll give you a really a better picture of the kind of work that we do. Are you?
Contract finance committee, Senator Jacob.
Thank you for approving our benchmark. We've been working on a couple things. Still, we're going to try reducing how much we're spending on LTD, or at least we're working on that. Working on something with Cascadia Mobility at the moment on trying to get more bikes. These are all one-time funds, and we're working on making a pilot program for Daily Emerald to expand to Portland. Yeah, that's about it for now. I yield.
Yeah, and to clarify, the CFD has a lot of one-time funds sitting in our committee from over-realized funds.
years ago, and the lobbying organization we used to fund last year fell through. So we just have these one-time funds we're using to improve our contracts in ways that like can't be budgeted, and like things like Cascade are used a lot. So we just want to bolster it. And DSC chair Bill offered it, or Senator offered it.
Awesome. So yeah, we are starting our budget hearings next week. We meet on Mondays always, from 4 to 5:30. So if you want to pull up that, I will send out an email soon. It will be in Night Library 221. Not sure who will be there on Monday yet because the other two people fell through immediately. So it might be Oregon Athletic Bands. And then Thursday, we'll be meeting in the Night Library 221, with the SCRC, which is Student Conflict Resolution Committee. That's a really great question. I think I've put on my calendar. You're gonna set it up for me. It will be at 5 p.m. 5 to probably like 6-ish. Also the Night Library too. And yeah, we're really excited to start meeting with people and kick things off. And we're gonna meet all the way through week 10. So we have several budget hearings if you want to attend them this term. Thanks, I yield.
Thank you so much, finance chairs. Now we will do Senate exec updates. Academic Chair Stevenson.
Hello, everyone. Like I said at the top of this meeting, we're doing the flyer thing this weekend. Thank you to all of the academic senators that came to the night safety walk around the community. That was my first required event, and I was very anxious about that, but I was very happy with the turnout. Let me see, there are other events. I'm supposed to be coordinating this with Senator Heffernan, but I'm going to talk about this in the next AC meeting. I want to have one of the 3 office hours that academic senators do be in a building specific to their major. And so I'm going to talk about that at the next AC meeting. So not this next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after at 4. Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, AC. Moving forward to Office Person Heffernan.
Thank you to everyone for completing my quiz. You have a new quiz out. We do it by next Senate. It should be quicker, and hopefully a little bit less confusing. Your office hours on Tuesday for Veterans Day are not required. They will be wiped if you are supposed to be in the suite on Tuesday. You don't have to be, unless you, of course, you have meetings. Go to your meetings. Personnel committee has been meeting, and we're going to meet again Tuesday at 8:45 a.m. in Kayla Fisher's office in PLC. If you have any personnel related questions, please go to that. And yeah, go to budget hearings. All of your lovely finance chairs will be sending out those notifications for budget hearing. Please go. Yeah.
For the budget hearings, it says like 3, does that mean 3 sessions or 3 individual?
Yeah, sorry. I tried to put in like a little footnote about that for, I think POC is the one that has the 3 requirement, right? Yeah, that's individual org hearings, not get that done in 1 night. Yes, not like full 3-hour meetings. Thank you. I yield them.
Treasurer Perez. Definitely go to POC budget hearings. They're fun, great way to experience how we're spending the money, especially the boards. Not any other financial updates from me, but Senate Rules Committee will be meeting this Friday at 3 in the ASUO suite. Definitely stop by, it's super fun. And we'll also have a Zoom, so if you can't be there, definitely hop in the Zoom. But yeah, I yield.
Not too many updates, but we have been doing interviews for Senate Seat 8 and Senate Seat 19 this week, which is really exciting. We should have decisions for both of those hopefully by Friday, and then this next Wednesday, we can bring those candidates in for confirmation and hopefully fill at least 2 of our empty seats. If you have any questions about that process, please direct it to myself, Quadrian, and then Cole and Bella are also working as well. And that's
Thank you all. I don't really have a lot of updates right now besides what Aaron said, so. Just say- And ASU Vice Pres for the exec branch.
I do have some updates for you. So yeah, there is a Know Your Rights training on not tomorrow, Friday, hosted by YDSA. ASUO executives co-sponsoring this. It is from Friday, or it is from 4 to 7. Mills International. Okay, awesome. Mills International Center. That is in the EMU, I believe on this floor, just that way, right? Or is it in the? Thank you. And then next week is going to be busy with the Week of Relief. ASUO 125 is the 125th anniversary of ASUO. So there's going to be events in the EMU for the anniversary of EMU as well. And so, yeah, a lot of stuff happening with that. And then also the State of the University Town Hall for the Week of Relief. Our Secretary of Basic Needs posted in the chat like volunteer opportunities over the weekend on Saturday. And then the following Saturday as well. So that's Saturday, the November 8th from 10 to 1, flyering. I recommend looking in those documents for more information or talking to the Secretary of Basic Needs, Braden. And if you don't know who that is, reach out to me and I'll introduce you to. ASU 125, I mentioned that. There's an event that will be on Monday, November 10th from 2 to 4. There'll be free cake. That's epic. Love free cake. And then there's also going to be a gallery walk in the EMU Monday to Friday of next week. And then State of the University, last but not least, that's going to be a big town hall event. Please encourage people to come to all of these, but the town hall is kind of the idea of trying to bring people into ASUO or get people connected and kind of tell them what we're doing and also get involved. That will be on the 12th from 6 to 7:30 in Strop 156. Thank you.
Okay, I'm adding one more update right now. Just we'll send an official message, but just to like put this in your heads, in 2 weeks from now, week 8, we will be having another meeting before Senate. So just prepare for that. We'll send out a message probably at the beginning of this next week.
All right. So vote on next week and someone to join. To join.
Second by Peters.
Motion made by Perez, seconded by Peters. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. We have